of the Board of Directors of United Laguna Woods Mutual, California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, and we are at Laguna Woods City Hall.
Turn your mic on.
Turn your mic.
There you go.
There we go.
Now you're on.
Okay,
Mine's
I'll
on.
start again. Looks like we didn't have our mics on. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of United Laguna Woods Mutual, California Nonprofit Mutual Benefit Corporation. Today is Tuesday, May 9th, 2017, and we are in the Laguna Woods City Hall, probably for the last time. And again, we thank the City of Laguna Woods for the use of their council chamber while our boardroom is under construction, and we should have it done by our June meeting, right, Brad?
Yes, yes.
Okay. We do have a quorum. All of our board members are here this morning, so I'd like to call on Don Tibbetts to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Acknowledge media. There she is in the back. And of course, we are being televised, so I welcome the VTV crew that is filming us. Approval of the agenda. We have a number of things that need to be taken care of on the agenda. And I would like to start out, first of all, by removing 14A, the Select Committee, oh boy, I can't talk this morning. Select Audit Committee Representative appointment. We had 2 candidates. They both dropped out. So at this time, we have no candidates. And we again are looking for candidates. If you are interested in serving on the Select Audit Committee, for the rest of the year, it'll be like monthly meetings, and it will be more administrative duties, finding what went wrong, what they need to do, how they can make it better next year, that kind of thing. The real work is for about 6 weeks when KPMG is here doing the audit next spring. But if you are interested, please contact the General Manager's office, Leslie Cameron, and give her your information, and hopefully at our June meeting, we will have some candidates for that position. Now I open it up. I know we do have some other changes to the agenda. So, Maxine?
Yes, if you'll look at 5A.
Excuse me, we're not on approval of the minutes. We're on the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Anybody else? Yes, Cash?
11A, item 703B, we had decided to remove it, still on.
All right, you would like to, well,
Well, hold on. That's in the consent calendar?
yes, that's not one of the ones that we talked about removing. So if you want to remove it, that's fine.
Which number is that?
That was,
703B,
Oh, got it.
under 11A.
oh, it's 11A. It was removed.
Anita?
Yes, Maxine? Well, wait, I'd like to finish with him. Is that all right? Do you still want to remove 703?
Shall we leave it on and you can remove it when we get there? No?
We have to remove it from the calendar before we do.
No, then okay, I thought we decided to remove it.
No, we had 2 that we were going to remove, and we had,
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry. Take my
okay, so
comment
that's
back.
okay, all right. Now, Maxine?
Could we please remove 360A from the consent calendar to be placed on the agenda as 14B?
Which number?
No. It would be, we put it under 12B, number 2, under the Maintenance and Construction Committee.
All right.
We do have a report on that. That was one of the ones that we looked at removing, and we did research, and you should have gotten an email on that.
12B. Thank
Yes, so now it's 12B.
Number
Which
Number
which
2,
number?
12B2. 36A. Okay, any other changes to the agenda?
360.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
I move to
Cash?
accept as approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Cash 360.
Gary, okay.
No,
All those in favor of accepting the agenda with its amendments? Okay. Now, we go to the approval of the minutes. And I know, Maxine, you have some things you want to do on that.
Yes. Now, where was I? 5A. Let's see now. All right.
Page 2?
Page 2 of 17, under update from Director Stone. The third bullet point, the last few words there where it says, will have to be submitted from the union 60 days before the contract expires. What she said in her report was, will have to be submitted from the union 60 days prior to November 30th, 2018.
Okay, that is when the contract expires. Okay?
Yeah, and then the next page, 3 of 17, the second bullet item, waste management is a proper noun. It's a name of a company.
Oh, yes.
So it needs to be capital letters. And then I've got something here Mary Stone asked me to correct, which any member of the community can do. They can ask a board member to bring something up at this time. And it's a little lengthy, so I'm just going to hand it to staff. Okay? It's about Clubhouse 4, that paragraph there. Then it won't take so much time.
Okay, all right.
We can't approve.
No, I'm sorry.
She didn't
Maxine?
even mention
Maxine,
Clubhouse.
can you give it to our secretary, please? She's going to have to read it before we can approve the agenda.
She didn't even mention.
Juanita,
Yes, ma'am.
I believe not only should she read it, but she should read it to all of us so we know.
No, that's what I mean. She needs to read it out loud so
Great.
that everybody sees it before we approve the agenda.
Okay.
This says, I did not mention anything about Clubhouse 4.
Yeah.
That's the change. We don't put that in the minutes. Where are we?
Yes, it's on page 3 of 17.
1, 2, 3, 4.
3
The
of
fifth,
17, we simply remove Mary
Yeah.
Stone from that list. All right, wait.
it's the fifth bullet point down.
Thank you.
The showers.
You're talking about the shower rooms, correct, Mary? Pardon me? Talking about the shower rooms in Clubhouse 4? Okay. All right.
Okay. Oh, I see.
So we would remove that bullet.
That bullet. Okay.
That might need to go down under the report of the CEO. We may have commented on that.
Okay, all right.
Right.
Oh,
Okay.
And then we want an additional dot, apparently. It says, recently Luis Lopez, a landscaper, put his training into action and saved the life of one of our gate ambassadors. In recognition for employee excellence, Luis was presented with a citation and received a standing ovation at the GRF meeting. This was the second life-saving event this year.
Good.
Yes.
So that will be the final dot in that
Right,
section.
in her there. So very good, because we also recognize Mr. Lopez, excuse me, for saving the life of one of our United Mutual members. Are there any other corrections? Yes, Maxine?
Okay. If you look at page 5A, page 9 of 17, under 5A. 5A, 9 of 17, under election of officers by opening nominations, where it says the following directors were elected. At this point, they were nominated. That word should be nominated. Cross out elected and put nominated. The appointments are on the next page, correctly listed as appointment of officers. So on this page, just change the word elected to nominated.
And then we need to add another,
it's on the
for
next page.
treasurer was Gary Morrison. I believe those are the only two changes then.
Juanita,
Yes, ma'am.
I believe, although my memory's not always good these days, that Jeff had recommended to us a long time ago that we should not be so detailed with our minutes. I mean, we're going into the nth detail here. I think we need to run it by Jeff again and get his opinion on how minutes should be done.
All right. We'll talk to Jeff about it and close this afternoon.
Great.
I have to say, I've had real compliments from many of our members who like being able to see a little bit more detail. So we'll talk about it this afternoon. All right, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 11th, 2017 meeting as amended? Jamie? Maxine? Oh, Andre, okay. All those in favor of approving the minutes? Andre? I can't see. Are you raising your hand? Okay. I'm sorry, but down there, you have to raise your hand high because I can't see because of the wall. So unanimous, thank you.
No, I'm sorry, it's not unanimous.
It's not
I'm
unanimous.
opposing.
I'm sorry.
I'm opposing because of the detail.
Oh, okay. Very good, thank you. All right. Now we come to member comments. Not nearly as many people here as I thought we were going to have today. So if you will come forward and please give us your name and manor number.
Mike Landry, 693B Boy. I'm not sure if this is actually a United concern or not, but coming up Aragon from Clubhouse 3 towards Gate 1, the stop sign is hidden behind the bushes of that last building of Cadiz's. And you literally have to be on top or under the stop sign before you see it. Those bushes need to be trimmed away so the stop sign is more visible.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Chris Collins, 3306Q, and I'm here representing the foundation of Laguna Woods Village. This year, the foundation of Laguna Woods Village celebrated its 20th anniversary with an open meeting on April 27th. In 20 years, the expansion of the services provided to Laguna Woods residents is impressive. Here are some of the accomplishments that the foundation is celebrating. In 1997, the budget was $20,000. 20 years later, our budget has grown to $200,000 per year. Our ability to grow and provide important services to our Laguna Woods neighbors experiencing temporary financial challenges has only come about through steadily expanding partnerships with generous contributions of individuals and village clubs. For all of this, we are deeply grateful. Several other noteworthy program expansions this year include, first of all, in addition to the Meals on Wheels program for Laguna Woods residents, the foundation now provides food insecure weekend and holiday meals to qualified residents. This program represents an additional $25,000 per year in addition to our yearly contribution of $84,000 to the Meals on Wheels program. Secondly, the foundation provided Alzheimer's Orange County a $30,000 startup grant to establish Dementia Alzheimer's Respite Project for Laguna Woods residents. This new drop-off R&R respite program at the South County Adult Daycare Services provides peace of mind for family caregivers, knowing their loved ones will be supervised and taken care of at a safe and caring place. In addition to the startup grant, the foundation provides scholarships to residents for this R&R respite program. In closing, it's important to note that the foundation of Laguna Woods Village is very unique in that we are the only organization in this country that establishes a safety net to help residents age in place. We are indeed neighbors helping neighbors. And please watch the mail for our spring appeal letter. No gift is too small or too large. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mary?
Yes, good morning. Thank you all for serving, by the way. I think you do a good job here.
Name and...
Oh, I'm sorry. Mary Wall, 239D. I'm here about the monthly resale report, which kind of bothers me because it's nothing to do with the budget, and it comes in with the treasurer's report. And I'd like to know why we have this information. To me, it appears that it's just for realtors and people who want to sell their manors, not the people who want to buy in here, the people who want to sell in here. Anyway, that's my comment about the monthly resale reports, and I'd like someone to please give me some information as to why. We never used to have it. I mean, Jack and Don, all these people who've been here for many years, we never had a monthly resale report. Okay, the other thing was that we had a 2-inch crack in our carport. I think it had been there for many, many years. At least to my knowledge, I've been here almost 18 years. And 2 staff came the other day to repair the crack, and it took them 3 hours. They were there for 3 hours repairing a 2-inch crack. That to me is a make work and spend money job. Our United's budget for employment compensation is $13 million. It says in these agenda item that it's 39% of the budget, but I picked up 41% of the budget. And it feels like me that this is the fox in the hen house. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Any other member comments? Your turn.
Hi.
That's
Good morning, everyone. I'm Anita.
Don't get that close.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Anita Robertson. I live at 231G, Avenida Mallorca. And I'm wondering if today is the day to talk about drones or not.
It is on our agenda. and
It is?
It is.
Oh, I searched through it and I didn't see anything.
It is number 13C.
Okay,
and-
so I don't talk about it then,
When
now.
we get there, we will have a motion and we'll open it for discussion. You can talk
Okay.
about it then.
All right, thank you. Mhm.
Anything else? All right, I'll go to our board. Do we have any answers? Pat?
Hi. Yes, to the first gentleman who spoke about the bush in Aragon that is covering the stop sign, that's actually a GRF issue, so it would be best if you could address GRF on that one. And then to Mary Wall. Mary, we've been having this resale for as long as I've been here, and that's at least 6 years or 5 years. Mary said it wasn't, Mary Stone said when she was on, it wasn't on, but I think it's very, it was. It's very useful information to buyers and sellers. I would think that everybody in this room would be interested in knowing how many units have sold and what the average prices are, and if they're going up or down. I would think that that's very valuable information. So, Mary, don't agree with you on that one. Thank you.
Okay. Cash?
Yeah, I would like to compliment Chris Collins on the accomplishment they are doing and keep up the good work. Also, I would like to tell Mary Walters about the 2-inch crack. It took 3 hours to repair. Maybe that is the normal time that takes to repair a crack that wide, that needs to be deep as well and has to be fixed certain ways. So let the person do his job. Thank you. And if you found it after 14 some odd years, maybe you should be more diligent. Thank you.
Maxine?
Yes. Mike, I believe it is, the gentleman from 693B.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe he was speaking about a lot of bushes when you're, from the direction he gave, going along Aragon. I have seen that block, are coming up from Cadiz, that block the view. They're on United property. It's not right at the stop sign. It's on United property, so we could probably take care of that.
We'll definitely take care of it.
Any other comments? All right, we will go on to number 8. We just had 7, the report of the chair. I have gotten many calls over the last week or so since the audit report was sent to all of our members. Number one, people look at the first sheet, the first page, not page one, but the first sheet of numbers. They don't look at the other. And they look down at the bottom that shows we had a net loss of $831.06. And they are panicking, and they are saying, what do you mean? We are so far in debt. What do you mean that we haven't there? So I felt it necessary to tell all of you, number one, United is in a good financial position. We are not in the red. And I'd like to read to you what I got from Betty, our treasurer at VMS, because Jamie and I met with her just to make sure we were doing it correctly. First of all, these are 1 year's, an audit report is 1 year's figures. And the mutual did not have an operating deficit. The net loss that you see on this was attributed to expenditures in the contingency fund without offsetting assessments in the current year, last year. The largest expenditure in the fund was, of course, the solar project. Now, hopefully all of you remember, because we went over this many times when we approved the solar project, United made the decision to take the money from our contingency fund and we pay back the contingency fund rather than borrowing money and giving somebody else with interest that payback money. So what we did was we borrowed it from ourselves, and we are paying back the contingency fund. Last year, we put over $1 million from our operating surplus in that. As we go into budget this year, we will see how we want to do that, how we want to pay that back, but we will. And it's just that fund that is making these numbers look so bad. Please know that you're United. People are really doing a good job. Take a look or pay special attention when Pat gives her treasurer's report, and you can see that we are really doing pretty well with your money. Yes, we have a deficit in the contingency fund. Yes, we are working to pay it back, so please don't consider that we are not financially irresponsible with your money. The other thing, no, that's all I wanted to talk about. So I would like to now to go to number 9, our update from VMS with Anthony Liberatore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Laguna Woods Mutual Directors. And let me get myself situated here. Last Wednesday, senior staff held an event at Clubhouse 2, you may be aware of, and it was employee recognition. And it was really well done, well put on. And department heads acknowledged new employees. We acknowledged promotions. And we went and acknowledged people who went above and beyond what was expected of them. And people received plaques, and we had pictures taken. And sitting out with the troops, I noticed something. People weren't falling asleep. They weren't playing on their phones. So I got a good vibe that our staff as a whole is really into what they're doing, and they respect each other. They were all paying attention. There was applause. So I'm here to tell you that your staff, VMS staff, really positive people, and we're very fortunate to have them. Now, normally, when I give reports to you, I like to go on something that we all can relate to, and that is the strategic plan. And the strategic plan to me is like being in a helicopter looking at the forest. But today, I'm going to get down into the trees. Resident services over a long period of time, has been really criticized for its inefficiencies, insensitivities, but they have been short-staffed and have been heavily criticized. But with Chris on board, they really are making headway. So let's show a little love to VMS staff. Let's recognize Delphine Maffey is inspiring everyone with her breathtaking front counter and resident services lobby theme, if you've noticed it. Visitors and residents love the cookies and water provided while they wait. The positive feedback to staff is overwhelming. Also, not lost or unappreciated is the comfortable seating and trained staff at each window. The newly installed TV in resident services is meant to help residents waiting to be helped. Residents and board member can continue hearing kudos on our staff for every issue on the breeze. Every issue that's come out on the breeze, I'm sorry. People like it, people read it, they like being kept informed. Recently, a resident called to give kudos to Ruben and Melissa in resident services. Quote, "They did a fantastic job," unquote. Further, quote, "They are always helpful in explaining things," close quotes. This resident understands that we have been going through many changes and continue to be very appreciative that we continue striving to provide outstanding customer service. Staff in the copy center is seldom heard from. However, one of our observant residents took the time out of her busy day to acknowledge the wonderful service provided to the members, clubs, boards, committees by producing agenda packets. So kudos to our VMS staff again. The member at 85A called in to give to Giovanni in resident services kudos for the help that Giovanni gave her. So Giovanni is a new employee, and to quote staff, a keeper. So that's, as you know, we've had a lot of complaints and criticism in resident services, but with our new staff, Chris, really making some headway. And Madam Chair, I've got a lot of stuff here, but that's the extent of my report. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to deal with it.
I just have one comment. Would you identify Chris? You've mentioned her a couple of times. We know who Chris is and what she's doing, but I don't think our members out there do, so.
Lori?
Yeah, that's Chris Spar, who is the Director of Resident Services.
Okay, and she's in charge of the call center also. with
Call
all
center
of
as
us.
well, yes,
So
that's all part
Yeah,
of it.
she's really a very impressive person to talk to. She knows what she's doing.
Absolutely.
And of course, again, I always try to, when I come here, report on the strategic plan, because that's tied up with your deliverables. But I really thought it was with the urging of staff to talk about what's going on in resident services.
Point of information,
Yes.
was the last name pronounced Bar?
Spar, S-P-A-H-R.
F-B?
No,
S-
S-P-A-H-R. Spar,
Thank you.
like sparring, like boxing.
Another thing I might mention is if our members are interested, if you go up to the second floor, as you get off the elevator, are the photos that he was talking about, all of the different recognition plaques and things like that from the quarterly recognition meetings. And so you can see all of the people that were recognized and what they were recognized for.
And Madam Chair, that reminds me, in my last employ, when I used to wander into our clerk's office, I used to see how many people had solitaire on their computers. In our second floor, there's no solitaire on anybody's computers.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
Okay, now we come to the report of the CEO. Brad?
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board, community. It's always a pleasure to talk to United residents about what's going on. Yay. First of all, this is a historic day for United, for the village really, because the agenda sitting before you is the very first agenda manufactured by Granicus. So you'll notice all the handwritten notes and all that are not in there, and everything's numbered and lettered properly. Still more work to do. The next agenda you see, the official really kickoff of Granicus in your June meeting will be even better than this. But gone are the trash cans full of paper due to all the mistakes that were made during the process of the agenda. So Leslie's very happy about that. And so it's a much smoother, better process, and ultimately be much more transparent for our residents as well. So we're very excited about that. So we're hoping that the Granicus agenda preparation piece, along with the board management and the transparency piece, there's really three different elements to this, and a fourth if you add the e-comment function, will all come together on June 6th. If God and Chuck willing, for the GRF meeting. So that's our target, and it all seems to be coming together rather nicely. I wanted to follow up a little bit on the chair's comments and the president's comments about the life-saving efforts of our employees. You know, when you take on a big program like the installation of the AEDs and having CPR training, you know, for 600 or 700 people, I mean, you hope to God you never need it, but you're glad it's there, if not just for a security blanket. But here we go. We're about halfway through our employees. We haven't really trained everyone yet, but fortunately, the ones who needed it were trained. And so we had two different instances where residents were in distress, really life-threatening distress, and the two employees who happened to be there were trained and were able to render life-saving assistance. And so I'm really pleased that we were able to complete this. And I know it's an expense and it's inefficient in terms of people being trained instead of working, but then also it's wonderful and special. And I think our residents are very pleased to know that their staff is here to serve them and can render that kind of assistance if necessary. So on the eBlast Friday, I sent out a cool link. Unfortunately, it's a code about 15 alphanumeric numbers. That you, I don't know if you saw that or not. If you are interested in signing up for the Team Up calendar, the Team Up calendar is all of the board and committee meetings in the village. It can be online or on your mobile device, along with all the backup material as well. So if you missed that, go back to the e-blast I sent Friday, and you'll see that code there, and you follow the instructions, and you can access that directly. It's a very efficient way to know what's going on in village governance and to have access to the material. Starting next month, for at least the 3 board meetings, you'll be able to get that same information on Granicus. So it'll be a little more efficient, I think, and it's easier to understand. But it is available for a lot of board and committee meetings, and I suggest if residents are interested in that sort of thing that they go ahead and do that. We also provided, and I think this is very cool, the information to download the Tunity app on your smartphone. And basically this can be applied anywhere, but in particular at the Community Center Fitness Center, we have 6 TVs there. They're all muted. and so you can't hear them. But for free, you can download this app, take a picture of the TV that you want to listen to with your smartphone, and it'll put the music right through your earphones, or the news, or sports, or whatever. So we plan on adding that TVs and that same function to Clubhouse One Fitness Center as well. So no one else has to listen but you. It's your choice, and it's completely free. Free, free, free. So the instructions to download that are at the fitness center, at the community center, and also in the e-blast that I sent out Friday as well. On a different note, many of residents who live within 300 feet of El Toro Road or Valencia or many of these other major roads have gotten a notice from the city. Has anybody gotten a notice from the city? This is a notice about a land use application that Laguna Woods Village has made. So I want to make it clear, because I have gotten a number of phone calls from folks who either got a notice or saw the published ad, and so they've contacted us. What is this? What's going on with the fence? And so I'm here to tell you about that. There'll also be an e-blast sent out later today to inform you. What's going on is the replacement of barbed wire fencing is not allowed in the city of Laguna Woods. And so in anticipation that at some point down the road, we're going to have to replace some of this barbed wire, we have submitted an application for an alternative so that we don't have to submit an application at the time we need it. And so that's what you see. We're not building a taller wall. We're not changing anything other than if barbed wire has to be replaced, it has to be replaced with something different than barbed wire. And so we've come up with sort of a metal hook that would replace that as we need to do it. So if you see that notice, or you hear folks talking about they're building a wall, I heard that from one resident, where no walls being built, we're maybe replacing barbed wire down the road if it's required. And so that's what that application is for. It gives us the authority to replace that moving forward when we need to. So it seems like a lot of to-do about nothing, and guess what? It is. Share that. At the last GRF meeting, there were a number of comments about showers and locker rooms, and actually they found their way into our minutes, albeit in the wrong section. We've been doing a lot of work in showers and locker rooms. We've replaced every shower head in the community. They were pretty disgusting. They were not water saving. They were probably 20 years old. We've gone through and cleaned a lot of the grout. We've really cleaned the bathrooms up and the showers a lot. And so we've been getting a lot of positive comments from residents about that. I want to touch a little bit about RFID stickers. Residents coming into the resident services office to maybe register a new car, and they see that there's a charge for the RFID sticker, and I've gotten some complaints about that, so I wanted to explain that. When we started the program, we provided up to 3 RFID stickers free to every resident. Right. The thinking being a lot of residents may have 2 cars and a golf cart. Some just have 2 cars, say maybe 1 car and a golf cart, but we would cover that. And then I think it was January 31st, that was the last day. We had about 3 or 4 months we provided them free, that we provided free ones. And the reason is because we want to be fair to everyone. You know, some people get a new car every year, every other year, every 3rd year. They're going to need stickers all the time. Some residents lease their manners out, and every time they get a new tenant in there, they're going to need a new sticker. So, you know, maybe several a year. So in order to be fair to everyone, we provided the 3 up front, and then the stickers actually cost $15 for us to buy them each, and then it costs about $10 for us to turn off the old one and turn on the new one and go apply it to your car. And so when you get a new sticker, it's $25. And so I just wanted to be clear on that. Again, in an attempt to be fair to everyone in the community, those who maybe don't get them too often and won't have to pay anything. Those who switch cars a lot or lease a manor or move around a lot, they'll have to pay a little bit. So I want to be perfectly clear. There's been a lot of discussion about gates and what's happening with gate arms, and I wanted just to share with the board and the community what I'm recommending. Doesn't mean it's going to be done, but for United, I will be recommending that gate arms be placed at 1, 2, and 3. And then perhaps at 4, we're looking at a couple of different options at 4, maybe a slider, maybe something a little bit different than a manned gate, given its peculiar service provision. I mean, it's not an in-out gate, it's only an out gate. It's a little bit different. We may actually keep a gate house there. I'm not sure yet, but we want to secure all those gates and others in the community. But for United, that's what I'll be recommending during the budget process. I want to hit on a couple of interesting events that are going on. The Men's Golf Club tournament to benefit Laguna Woods Village Foundation is Saturday. And so I don't know if they have any golf slots still available, but for you golfers who have not checked it out, you ought to get in there, and it's a good way to play some golf, have some camaraderie with your community members, and then also contribute to a really, really fine cause. So I recommend everybody think about that. And I've actually contributed a little bit myself, and I think I'm going to go over for dinner on Saturday night. So there you have it. So it is a really good cause. And then I wanted to talk about our event, Memorial Day at the Performing Arts Center. This is going to go pretty quick, but it's at the Performing Arts Center. Starts at noon with a VFW event, and then at 1, the All-American Boys Choir will be performing there, which is a very, very good. And it is a free event, but you have to get tickets because they will be completely 100% sold out. And so I would say if you don't have tickets in the next couple of days, you may not make it. So I would get over there, get your tickets. I think we seat about 800. But it looks to be very, very popular. I think when I checked yesterday, we had, Lori, about 500 gone, 400 gone. There's still 400 left, or there was yesterday anyway. So I would recommend, certainly for those who, like myself, Air Force veteran, I'm kind of a patriotic fellow, I would probably be one of those over there to get one of those tickets. Also, we changed out the art at the community center. There'll be some going in the board room as well, but for those of you who want to view village art the next time you're over at the community center to work out or to conduct business, take a stroll around the building and you'll see some very, very unique and wonderful art that was done by our own residents. So really, really snaps the building up a little bit, and it's a wonderful way to recognize residents who have special talents and to have them on display for all to see. So with that, that completes my report. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Brad. Any comments, questions for Brad from the board? Maxine?
Yes, I want to compliment you on the art we've had right along now in the community center. I think the quality just really makes it look like a warm, definite community center. It's not a commercial building, really. And the artwork really adds to it. It's very pleasing. I hear wonderful compliments on it. Thank you.
I was very sad when they said they were coming to take the art that we had put up a year ago, but I get the artists will only have it on loan for so long, and they want to give other artists the chance. And then they brought the new art on Friday, and we started placing it, and it really looks nice. So I don't feel as bad as I did Friday.
Cash?
I have a question for you, Brad. I had a letter from the city, notice of public hearing.
That's the one.
Same thing? But they're talking more like increasing the height from 6 feet to 7 feet. Do we really need something like that?
Well, that's not exactly correct. I mean, it's correct technically, but what happens is when you put the new device on, in some places it may be shorter, in other places it may be taller. And so, because you know, some of our barbed wire, it's not all uniform around the village. And so that just puts folks on notice that, yeah, in some places the height may increase a little bit with the new device. Again, there's no requirement that we change. The new barbed wire is not very secure, as we all know. It is quite easy to get over, around, under barbed wire. And so there may be down the road a board who would choose to put this more secure device up in certain locations if you were having problems. You might be compelled to put it up, for example, and I think more about Third, if there was a big fire or something that destroyed a bunch of perimeter barbed wire, you couldn't replace it. You would have to put this up. And so that potentially could be a little higher than the barbed wire that's there. It also could be a little lower too, because again, we don't have uniform height on all of our fencing.
It's not a safety issue or a security issue.
It could be a security issue if you chose to approach it that way, because the shepherd's hooks are a more secure fencing material than barbed wire. Again, barbed wire is easy to cut. As we see, quite frankly, along Gate 2 there, sometimes we've had some penetrations in the community by folks who cut the barbed wire, and then they'll climb over the fence and maybe use a laundry room or take a bike or something. We've had that happen. So you could, at some point, decide to go ahead and make it a security issue, but that's not really what this is about.
There's a sample up at the very top by Gate 11, at the end of Gate 11, where the Laguna Woods boundary ends by the creek. So there's a sample of shepherd's hook up there now. Third installed those.
Juanita? Steve?
I just wanted to follow up on Brad's comments on the Tunity and also on the schedule of board and committee meetings. If you go to our website, www.lagunawoodsvillage.com, and you click on resident links, you will immediately see the first item now is the Tunity. And if you go to the left in the list and click on board and committees, and you click on the link, the team up calendar comes up in its entirety. So both of those things are very easily found and as a top priority now on our website.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Pat? Yes, Brad, congratulations on getting the agenda on Granicus. That's terrific. I'm just wondering about the team up. True, we have the board meetings and a lot of the committee meetings, but there's still a lot of meetings we don't have on there, and I'm wondering if you will eventually get such things as ad hoc committees and things like that on there.
Well, that's a good question. We have not done that thus far. We have really limited the team up calendar mostly to your standing committees and those sorts of things. That's certainly an option. I know one of the things that we've been talking about, I don't want anybody yelling here, but is eliminating the Monday memo because it's very redundant with the team up calendar if you put everything on team up. So I think if we put everything on team up, then you really don't need the Monday memo, which has a lot of the ad hocs and other things on there. So that's a further discussion to have with the boards. It'd probably be my preference not to have the Monday memo because I have to basically pay someone to look at team up and take everything off there and put it in a memo format and then email it out to everyone. But I know a lot of people like that. But team up is really the way to go, and it shows everything graphically so you can see where there's overlaps and conflicts and things, and I think it's a better tool than the Monday memo, though not as complete right now. I would have to augment Monday memo to make it as complete as team up.
Thank you.
Andre?
Thank you very much for a detailed description of the achievement we've had for the past month. And one question about the Granicus and the team up is that I hope that Granicus will replace the team up. We'll be able to have that function of team up, and we don't have to go with team up anymore. Is that the
No.
case? No, it's
No.
it
Really,
doesn't have a calendar with.
in my mind, a team up replaces the Monday memo and makes it obsolete. And then Team Up and Granicus kind of work together. Granicus really isn't a scheduling tool. It's an agenda production tool. It is a board meeting management tool. And then it is a transparency and archival tool as well. So those are those functions, but it's not really a scheduling tool. Not for the number of things that we've got going on. Probably work fine if you only had the 3 board meetings. Yeah, it's fine for that. But when you add on what we have and it's not as dynamic as Team Up in terms of making changes. You know, if you add or change a meeting at the last minute, Granicus doesn't really function that way.
Okay, thank you. And also the wire on the fence, the device on the fence, you mentioned it as a device. I know in the past there were homeless people that cut the wire open and climb over the fence, get into the village. Will it be able to prevent this kind of thing from happening again, that kind of device?
Yeah, if the board chose to put that up in certain locations, it would certainly make those kinds of trespasses much more difficult. So again, we're leaving that open. The boards can decide that as future MNCs, but for us, it's being able to replace, if we have to, with something that is code compliant at the city.
Okay.
Jack and then Don.
Hold on.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I haven't finished yet. Trinity, I don't think it works with the public stations, but it doesn't work with Channel 6 from what I read.
No, that's correct. It will not work with a sort of a closed circuit broadcast like TV6. It has to be a national live broadcast like any of the major news stations, sporting stations and events, things like that. And what it does, it's got some intelligence there when you take a picture of a screen. Any screen, could be an airport, could be your doctor's office that's on closed captioning, but you don't want closed caption, you want to hear it through earphones or something. You take a picture of it and it searches basically every broadcast in the world and identifies which one that is and then pipes it through your phone for free. I don't know how these folks develop this stuff and don't charge for it, but I love it.
Thank you.
Jack?
Yeah, Brad, gates 5 and 6 are in and the new gates installed and everybody seems to be happy with them. A few complaints. They were to be a trial before any of the other gates were done. And I just can't see how gate 1 is going to work with that same kind of arrangement. And so will there be some more studies done before you go ahead with that? Or
yeah, Chuck and Tim are issuing a report that should be going to the Security Committee pretty soon on how the gates work. Quite frankly, gate 6 is a little bit of an anomaly, but it's working fine. It has more than maybe too many lanes there. It'll easily handles the traffic that's there. Probably the biggest problem we've had is with the 3-lane options. People like to cut across and avoid the gate, and so we've had to construct things, and whether they be those big dots or vertical delineators to keep people from cutting across there to avoid the gate. And then the other problem we've had is you've got like 20 bicycle riders riding in a line. Sometimes the gate wants to come down somewhere in the middle there. And so there's a solution to that, but it's just a matter of training. So actually, we've reduced the number of gate ambassadors at gate 5, which was always thought to be a pretty busy gate, to 1. That's all that's needed. They're only watching 1 lane. The other 2 lanes are going through. So gate 1 is a little trickier because there's only 2 lanes.
And it's short distance.
And it's not much distance there. It may be, and I'm not saying this is what we're going to do, but one of the solutions we've talked about is not allowing commercial vehicles through gate 1. And so we may have to do something like that just to keep the flow down, particularly during the busy times, and send those around to the edges where we have a little more stacking and more lanes. So that's some of the thinking there. But yeah, we have engineered costs for 8 more gates and designs they're not complete, but they're well on their way. And so we have an idea about how all these are going to work. And like anything else, when you're retrofitting an older community like this, you have to be a little adaptable. It doesn't always work as you think it is when you're designing it, and so you have to change and dance a little bit and be flexible.
Thank you. Don?
Yeah, about 14 or 15 years ago, this problem of barbed wire came up. The city wanted to get rid of it then, and we kind of drug our feet. However, about that time, the Chase Savings and Loan right next door was being robbed on a regular basis, and they would jump over the fence where the barbed wire was, and of course our residents were scared, and it was easy to get over. So we put in Shepherd's Crook, and that completely eliminated the whole problem.
Yeah.
It's easy to go up and looks nice.
Yeah, it looks a lot better. It's much more secure. I agree.
Yes. Yes.
Cash, you have one more?
Yeah, basically, just one comment. I use that app Brad is talking about on TV, and it drained my battery down, so be a little careful.
Jamie?
Brad, have you ever considered anything for people coming in from underneath the bridge on Valencia by the creek?
No, but that's something we can consider.
There's a camera there, and I don't even know if it works or not, but I'd appreciate it if you'd look into that.
I'll look into
I'm
that.
sure they can come in that way.
Is a member question allowed about?
There is no motion on the floor, so we really don't have discussion. If you have a question, please feel free to talk to Brad after the meeting. Just a couple comments on the art. I'd also like to encourage everybody to go to our village library. We have rotating art there. We also have wonderful photos from the photography club up on the walls that are changed at regular intervals. So it's not an art gallery, but we certainly have a lot of the art there as well. And second, on the team up, when you get that calendar, you not only see the dates in the meeting room, but you can click on and get the agendas for those various meetings in one place, which makes it very convenient. All right, now we go to number 11, which is the consent calendar. The consent calendar is all matters that are considered routine and will be enacted by the board on one motion in the form and second instead of each individual ones. We have had one item, 360A, removed from the consent calendar, but the rest are all there. Do I have a motion on the consent calendar?
I'll move.
Jane?
A second.
All those in favor of the consent calendar with that one substitution? Okay. Okay. Now we get on to committee reports. And our first one, 12A, is our wonderful treasurer's report. And I will turn that over to Pat.
Okay, thank you, Juanita. Okay, slide 1 will show that the total revenue for United through March 31st was $9,854,000 compared to expenses of $8,351,000. This results in greater revenue than expenses by $1,503,000. Could you please bring up slide 1 for us? I think, again, we have the situation where the people at home that are watching their TV will see it, but we don't see it for some reason. Okay, now slide 2. Slide 2 has a favorable bottom line of $1,503,000 compared to a planned surplus of $24,000 through March. United was better than budget by $1,479,000, and this is primarily due to waistline replacements, work that was started late April, water heater replacements, researching methods, roof replacements, work scheduled later in the year, and the timing of operating material purchases. On to slide 3. Slide 3 is a pie chart, and it shows the non-assessment revenue received to date of $344,000 by category. starting with our largest revenue-generating category, miscellaneous, which is primarily due to the collection of the annual golf cart electric fee, followed by interest income and fees and charges to residents for prorated appliances. Slide 4. Slide 4 shows the expenses to date of approximately $8.3 million by category, showing that our largest category of expense was compensation and property taxes. Slide 5 shows the reserve balances that are nearly $21.8 million. The year-to-date contributions and interest to reserves was $3,059,000. Year-to-date expenditures were $1,705,000. Okay.
Current balance.
I'm going to the current balance of our reserves and contingency, $21,764,000. Okay, I'm going to go on to the next thing, which is the report on delinquencies, which I will find later because I don't think I brought it with me. I'm very sorry to say. So I'm going to go on to the next one right now. And if the president will allow me, if and when I find the delinquencies, I will read them then later on. Sorry, I forgot to bring them. Okay, the report on the resale. This is the one Mary Wall was talking about, and she thought we hadn't been doing this. Well, actually we have. We've been doing this for a long time. 5 years under me and longer under Mary Stone. So our monthly resale report for United, our average resale through March of 2016, last year, was $214,711. Through March of 2017, it was $241,903. You'll be happy to know that your investment in your place increased by 12.7%. Now, the total sales volume actually went down a little, but not a huge amount, just 1%. And our actual number of resales last year were 44, and this year at the same time was only 38, which shows, of course, that the average per unit has gone up significantly. So that's the sale on the report, on the resales. And then we have a budget calendar. Not much I can say about the budget calendar, except that if you look on it, which is number 12A4, it will show you when everything is happening. And you will find that we will be starting on our budget pretty soon. All boards will first meet in May 22nd for the landscape review. The maintenance review will be May 26th. And then the board review for United will be July 14th. On August the 10th, there'll be a board review that will be televised. And finally, the resolutions, which will set the budget in concrete, will happen on September the 12th. And that is the report on the budget. And as I said, I will locate the delinquencies and tell you later on that Juanita, I found them. Sorry about that. Thank you, Juanita.
I'd just like to remind all of our residents out there that these budget meetings are open meetings. So if you are interested or you have some comments or some questions, particularly the two that are coming up this month on the 22nd, having to do with maintenance, and on the 26th, having to do with landscaping, feel free to come to those meetings. They will be held They're supposedly going to be in the boardroom, but we'll see if it's ready enough for that. If not, there'll be a notice that will tell you what room it's going to be in. If you're not a numbers person, you want to wait and see what it all comes out. In the end, you would wait until we get to the board review, et cetera. But the nitty-gritty is May 22nd and May 26th for the Landscape and the Maintenance Committee, and they are open.
Madam President, may I add something to that? I have looked through my paperwork, and I have somehow or other forgotten my delinquencies. But I can tell you, to the best of my memory, that the delinquencies are running less than $100,000. I think it's around 95 or something right now. And we have around, plus or minus 40 people or 40 units that are delinquent. So our delinquencies are still very, very modest. Thank you.
And I might mention these delinquencies are only for assessments. They do not count for fees and all the other things that we often collect money for. All right, let's go to B. And John, would you give us the report of the Maintenance and Construction Committee?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Chairman. We had 10 variance requests. We went into them quite a bit of detail, and we approved 9 of the requests. We sent back 1 for more information. We talked briefly about the Architectural Control and Standards Committee, which will be on our agenda next coming up, and we are definitely supporting that. We discussed the red curb procedures, which was on our consent calendar and approved. That is a study of the red curbs in the cul-de-sacs and where we are going to add some if needed or take away if they're not used. We'll have more detail on that hopefully next month. We discussed the laundry rooms and the removal of wash machines where they're not being used, and remove them, put them in a busier laundry room. And then we talked about the solar panel that we have put up. As you know, it went out, and Steve's going to give us a little bit more detail on that. I'm not sure if it's been completely 100% repaired yet. It hasn't been. And that's about the extent of my report. Steve, would you add to that, please?
Sure. The first, our entire solar PV system went active on February 8th and 9th over the course of 2 days. And everything was operating properly with no issues whatsoever. In early April, Southern California Edison had some of their staff on property in United, and they smelled something that they didn't like around one of our laundry rooms. So without any notice, they shut down all of our 8 solar arrays and put padlocks on them.
Oh, gosh.
Needless to say, I don't think anybody was really happy about that, particularly the fact that we weren't noticed, but it was a critical issue that SCE felt could turn into a potential fire hazard, and the last thing you want is a fire at a transformer. Within a matter of days, we got a determination that when Southern California Edison connected our completed solar arrays to their transformers using their employees and their wire, they specified the wrong gauge wire and it was undersized. So that necessitated shutting everything down. Since that occurred within the first 2 weeks, we were able to get SCE on an expedited basis to get their crews out and get 4 of our 8 arrays back online. So we've been operating at 50%. Subsequently, we also had a meeting between VMS United M&C with Don and myself, and 4 people from SCE. It's very rare to have anyone from SCE come and have a meeting with you. You usually have to go to them. And they explained that they are going to have to run new underground cable at the other 4 locations.
Oh, gosh.
So we were advised that they should finish their assessment by the end of, I think it was week before last, and they were going to endeavor on getting those last 4 sites up as soon as practicable. I was hoping that we would have more information by today, but I've checked with staff, and we don't have any updating. We're waiting for some further explanation from SCE. In the meantime, we're still operating at 50%, and we will seek reimbursement on some basis from SCE due to the events as they transpired, and I don't see any problem. I have also spoken with JCI, and JCI is going to write a proposal to us to, as I understand it, rather than starting our 1-year performance guarantee on that February 8-9 date, to postpone the start of that guarantee to when all of our 8 arrays are back up and running. And I said they should put something in writing and present it formally to the officers of the board for review by council. So that's about it.
You might mention the amount of money we're losing daily?
Well, that's a difficult thing to say. When the system went down, I was using a number of about $800 a day based on the amount of generation that we had at that time. We've subsequently had cloudier days and some rain, and if you notice today, we're moving into that June gloom. So I'm not really too concerned about it. I think it'll just be a matter of us going back to SCE and asking them to take a substantial portion on a percentage basis off of the bills that they were presenting to us over the next couple of months.
Yeah, thank you, Steve, for
You're
staying on top of that. That's the end of my report, Madam Chair.
Well, under your report, we had a motion to establish a committee, and it has the charter for the United Architectural Control and Standards Committee. And it's 12B1, and there's the staff report. And then the motion is on page 4 of 5. And Maggie, if you would read the motion, please. Oh, Andre?
Sorry. In regard to some comment on Steve's input on that, in regard to the costs that Don mentioned, Pat has kindly asked VMS to provide me the information. During the past 2 years, our monthly charge is somewhere between $25,000 to $35,000. So we would, and it seems like February and March, the cost has really significantly dropped. So we would expect, and I'm hoping that one of the negotiation points will be that either SC or JCI will reimburse us. And so, and it will not count us, if we miss the June deadline, it will not count us that we missed the net metering deadline. It's that SCE's inspection that's not providing us sufficient time to achieve that. So just my comment.
That's what Steve said.
Juanita. To be clear, so everyone understands this, we were granted permission to operate in February. There's no postponement. We have qualified and are registered under NEM1. The outage has nothing to do with that at all.
United Laguna Woods Mutual Architectural Control and Standards Committee Charter, Resolution 0117XXX, Architectural Control and Standards Committee Charter. Resolved that pursuant to the occupancy agreement, Article 12 in the bylaws, the Architectural Control and Standards Committee is hereby established as a standing committee of this corporation, and resolve further, May 9, 2017, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby assigns the duties and responsibilities of the Architectural Control and Standards Committee of the corporation as follows. The Architectural Control and Standards Committee shall have the responsibility to recommend approval or denial of all requests for non-standard alterations and modifications, or alterations that have generated neighbor objection. Final recommendation shall be noted on the mutual's monthly board meeting agenda consent calendar. In their decision, the committee shall consider the following criteria: compliance with existing standards, aesthetic effect, cost impact on the mutual, conformity with local and state building codes, compliance with applicable law, and value impact. The board may choose to become involved in a member's appeal of the committee's decision. Should the board become involved prior to the review of the appeal, the committee will document justification of their decision. If necessary, the committee has the authority to consult with the mutual legal counsel for advice. Number 4, the committee shall have the authority to recommend new architectural standards or any revisions of all mutual architectural standards. Final approval will rest with the mutual board. The committee shall require neighbor awareness and approval forms for all alteration requests, including requests that appear to conform to standards. The committee shall review advancements in technology and methods that could result in increased efficiencies and/or cost savings to the mutual. The committee may impose contingencies upon approvals to ensure the structural, architectural, or common area integrity of the members' requests. The committee shall ensure that all structural alterations, including any internal and external physical changes, performed or caused to be performed by a member, should not be performed without prior written consent of the mutual. Consent is given either by proper processing of approved alteration standard or use of the variance request process. The committee will recommend a disciplinary hearing for all alterations preceding approval or deviation from approved changes. The intended activities of the committee may include, but may not be limited to, meeting when necessary, meeting on a monthly basis, reviewing staff recommendations regarding compliance with architectural standards or variance requests, conducting tours, and providing communications to the community. This committee shall exist and function in accordance with United Laguna Woods Mutual bylaws and occupancy agreement. This committee shall be comprised of no more than 5 directors. This committee may appoint up to 3 voting advisors, subject to the approval of the board. Now therefore be it resolved that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
I second.
Do we have any discussion, Jack?
Yeah, I'd just like to question items 11 and 12. I don't think that it should be as big as our normal M&C committee. I don't think there's a need for it to be that large. And so I would say that there should be no more than 3 directors. And then for the advisors, up to 3, that's up to the committee, I guess.
Pat?
Yeah, I would like to say the same thing, actually, and I know you don't like anyone to reiterate and duplicate, but yeah, I think there should be no more need the 3 people on this committee. Don't forget now, this committee will have gone through our staff. Our staff will have reviewed it to make sure that there's none of these land use issues involved and things like that. It should be a pretty straightforward thing for the architectural committee to look at it from an architectural point of view. You've got someone who's capable of leading it, who was a former architect. And I think to have 5 on it would be counterproductive. And then the other thing I'd like to say is, what do you mean by mutual legal counsel? This is on number 3. Who is mutual legal counsel?
That's Jeff.
Jeff Beaumont, United Mutual.
Mutual? Oh, okay, fine, yeah. I didn't understand what you meant by mutual. Thank you.
Is it capitalized?
Number 12, this committee may appoint up to 3 voting advisors. This will be the only United committee that has voting advisors. All our other committees have non-voting advisors. I do not agree with this. This is out of precedent. The board members are the ones on whom the responsibility falls, not however wise they are the advisors. It is our job to listen to the advisors, but we do not have the advisors vote on any of our committees. So I recommend that we remove, or that we add non-voting instead of voting advisors.
Janie?
I agree with you, Maggie, and the reason I do is I was an advisor on M&C for quite a few years. At first, I was a voting advisor, but because of insurance legalities and all, that the advisors were advised that they could not vote.
Maggie?
I move that we amend.
Wait. Let's finish the discussion on this first, and then we
Okay.
can amend it. Steve was next, and then Andre.
As far as the number of people on the committee, that would be a board-by-board decision because it says no more than 5. It doesn't say that it has to be 5. Personally, I think you could run into a problem if you specify that it's just 3, because if you just have 3 and only 2 show up, so I have no problem with the specification of 5. On the 3 advisors, I agree we should take out the voting. My only other remark would be that it is typical and usual where you never have as many or more advisors than you do
You're not allowed.
members on the committee, so
Yeah.
just that point as well.
Okay. Andre?
Basically, I agree. I was going to say the same thing about no more than 5 directors. I think it's up to the chair's decision as far as how many advisors he needs. And also, we have to keep in mind that this year we have a very experienced architecture on the board leading this committee. But in the future, if we don't have this kind of a quality chair leader, we may need a few more. So that's my recommendation, for the future consideration. Thank you.
Maggie, you had an amendment you wanted to make.
I move to amend this, make an amendment to say that for number 12, we change voting to non-voting advisors.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Maxine? Any more discussion? All right, those that are in favor of the amendment to change number 12 to say non-voting advisors, please indicate by raising your hand. Okay, unanimous. Now we get to the main motion, that we may appoint up to 3 non-voting, and again, it's up to, it doesn't say you have to have that many, subject to the approval of the board. Do I have someone make that motion?
I'll make them.
Don?
I'll second.
And Pat, okay. All right, all those in favor of the amended motion? Okay, unanimous. Thank you.
No, Jack didn't vote.
Oh, Jack, did you vote?
No.
Okay. All right, now we go to number 12C, the report of the landscape committee. Oh, I'm sorry, we added B2, and that was from the consent calendar 360A. And so, excuse me, 360A is found on page 12 of 27.
You want me to read it?
What item is that?
Resolution 0117XX, variance request, resolved May 9, 2017, that the variance request of Mr. Suk Soo Kim of 360A Avenida Castilla, window addition to previously approved variance room addition is hereby approved, and resolved further all costs and maintenance of the alteration present and future are the responsibility of the mutual members at 360A, and resolved further prior to the issuance.
Maggie, I'm sorry. I gave you the wrong, it was in wrong order here. It's page 9 of 27. The only thing that we pulled was the existing entry steps, not the window addition. That went through on
Right.
the consent calendar.
Right.
So we're looking at 9. I'll read it.
11.
Maxine?
You want me to speak to it now?
No, I have to read it now.
Okay.
Okay, this is Resolution 0117XX variance request. Resolved May 9, 2017, that the variance request of Mr. Suk Soo Kim of 360A Avenida Castilla to replace existing entry steps with a ramp is hereby approved, and resolved further that the mutual member at 360A must sign and submit to United Laguna Woods Mutual, care of VMS Inc., attention Pamela Ashline, Community Services Manager, the recordable common area agreement for the subject expansion utilizing common area, and resolve further all costs and maintenance of the alteration present and future are the responsibility of the mutual member at 360A, and resolve further prior to the issuance of a mutual consent for manor alterations, a complete set of unit-specific plans prepared by a licensed architect or structural engineer depicting the proposed alterations must be submitted to the Manor Alterations Department office located in the Laguna Woods Village Community Center. The plans must depict any required structural modifications, ensuring that structural integrity of the building is maintained upon completion of the proposed alterations, and resolve further a required mutual consent for manor alterations and City of Laguna Woods permit must be obtained, and the appropriate City of Laguna Woods permit number must be submitted to the Permits and Inspections Office located in Laguna Woods Community Center. Both permits must be finalized within the prescribed time frame for permits. And resolve further to all landscape irrigation and drainage modifications associated with the alterations are to be completed by the Landscape Division at the expense of the mutual member at Manor 360A, and resolve further all alterations must be installed in accordance to California State Building Code, and resolve further prior to issuance of mutual consent for manor alterations, a recordable common area agreement must be filed with the county clerk, and resolve further prior to the issuance of a mutual consent for manor alterations, neighbor awareness forms must be obtained from the affected neighbor at 360B, 359B, 359C, and 318C. No construction may proceed prior to receiving this executed form and approval by the Manor Alterations Department and the City of Laguna Woods, and resolve further during construction both the mutual consent for manor alterations and any applicable city building permits must be on display at all times in the front window, and resolve further under no circumstances is construction waste allowed to be dumped in the village trash bins. Construction waste must be disposed off-site by the contractor. Violation of this condition may result in disciplinary action, And resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry about the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Do I have a second?
No second.
Don, okay. And now we have discussion, so Maxine.
The reason I wanted this pulled was I have seen some of the terrible alterations done throughout our community on my long walks that bring an element of ugliness to the front of the building. That's why I feel that any modification that takes away steps or takes away the existing sidewalk to put in a permanent ramp, I feel that it should follow our policy. I think it's a resolution we have for what kind of ramp can be built and installed at the owner's expense. Everything the board could do and staff could do to make sure that this person realizes total responsibility for all related construction costs and maintenance is well done. It's very clear. Mine is the issue of the aesthetics. Locking in a permanent ramp, replacing the steps, instead of following one of the policies we have, which, like I said, I believe it was a resolution about 8 years ago, of how one can be built at the owner's expense, and then later, if desirable, remove it. Because we're like the landlords for this community. We have to look out for the aesthetic appearance and value of each manor. So I'm really concerned, and I would like to make a motion that this type of a ramp not be allowed in place of the steps.
You want to amend the motion, or you want to vote down this motion? And
Vote-
make
vote
another
down,
vote?
yeah.
We have to vote on this motion first.
Thank
you. Andre?
I agree with Maxine, Director Maxine's comment on this one, but I think a different approach might be, I want to propose a different approach is to set up a standards. I understand the reason for the request is that they felt that it's inconvenient for them to walk around and pull the grocery cart, so they want a longer ramp for their steps. So is there standards as far as what needs to be done instead of each individual comes up with their own and fit what kind of purpose are we trying to achieve? And if we have a standards, then it's probably easier to get approval. Thank you for the comment.
Any other comments? Mary?
Mary Stone, 356C. I believe that we should have an initial whereas in order to present the rationale for having this ramp, because you are discussing using common area, and there are limited reasons how you can use a common area, one of them being an ADA requirement for access. If this is a resolution for access purposes, I think it should be stated, whereas, the resident, needs access, to enter their manor, and then it should say that it should be ADA compliant. So I think that a whereas, a statement why you are giving this ramp is necessary.
Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, I'm sorry, Steve.
Does staff have a copy of this initial request?
I'm sorry, I don't.
We went through so many of these at the M&C meeting. I mean, we had 12 or 14 of them. So, and that was several weeks ago, so this is not fresh in my mind, and I'm trying to understand what the issue is now as opposed to when it was presented in M&C and approved.
Yeah, I'm just guessing. I'm with Steve. We had so many I can't remember in detail, but I don't think any of this ramp is on common property. They wanted to go up, and the step that they had in there would prevent the person from pulling up a cart.
I think that was 565C.
I don't quite remember.
There were 2 ramps.
But believe me, we looked at this in detail, and the recommendation that the committee meant followed all of the approval of the approved ramps that we've done in the past.
Lori?
Can the board move this to noon? I'll get the file here, and after you finish your business, we'll take up this item.
Okay. Is that agreeable to the
That's a
board?
good
We will
idea.
move to new business?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would suggest also, because land use, this is one of the exceptions to the land use policy. And so there are standards that should be met. But I agree that we should put it over till noon.
Dick?
When you say this isn't on common property, how do you define the stairs?
Right.
On anywhere? Isn't that common property?
Yeah.
So it is common property. Okay, and if it is common property, is there a medical necessity this person is asking for? Because I don't think there was. And if there isn't, I'm wondering if it, under your new policy that's coming up, whether this is allowed, because as I recall, the exception possibly for ramps is for medical necessity. And so that, I just raised this issue for your consideration.
Right. You are correct. However, remember that the land use policy has not been finalized. It will be at our June meeting because it's out for review. So under today's policy, the way they are, that doesn't come into play. But that doesn't mean that we have to accept it. So we will move it to new business and get the information back from
14B.
Lori at that time.
14B?
14B.
Thank you.
Okay.
Check, Lori, check Civil Code 4600. That's the land use policy. I think it's one of the exceptions, C or D.
We do have a motion on the floor and seconded, so I need to have, let's see, Maggie, you made the motion. Can you and Don withdraw that motion as we move it to new business?
I'll withdraw that.
I'll withdraw the second.
Okay. All right, now, Matt, landscape.
Oh, yes. Okay, my landscape report is in the file. Then, where was I? In the interest of outdoorsiness, since we didn't have a landscape, we did have a landscape, and that's in there. In the interest of outdoorsiness, I'll read you a little bit about barbecues, okay, the barbecue regulations. Okay, you may have a propane tank grill with 1 pound liquid petroleum gas capacity or an electric grill. The fire code was amended in 2007. Prohibition on charcoal burners or other open flame cooking devices operated within 10 feet of combustible construction in multifamily buildings. The new regulations took effect in 2008. Let's see, you can have, if you store your grill on the balcony, you must disconnect the tank. Note that the removed fuel tank may not be stored on the balcony within 10 feet of the combustible construction or inside of any enclosed structure. Tanks cannot be stored on the inside of a dwelling unit. You may not have an open flame or cooking device or open flame device of any kind within 10 feet of any construction, including surrounding walls, overhang. It is not acceptable to store the propane size greater than 1 pound on a combustible balcony or within 10 feet of combustible construction unless you have fire sprinklers. Tanks cannot be stored on the inside of a dwelling unit. Okay, so that should be clear. The fire pits, no, not in the village, and only propane and electric. And the propane has those requirements. They're findable online. I can give it to you, or you can look it up yourself. Okay. City ordinance, but you have to look for city ordinance because it's not clear there. Okay. That's it for landscape.
Pat?
Yes, I think it was about a year ago, maybe 2 years ago, we had this very issue, and we decided we didn't have to go along with what the city ordinance was.
That's correct, I remember that.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. The board approved it not to go along.
Yes.
Because we're private.
About 2 years ago, yes.
We decided not to do a resolution of our own because there was a city ordinance.
Right. You
And a fire code.
You cannot make a resolution to not abide by a law.
Might have done it.
It's not a law. City.
This is the law. This is the fire code. That is the law. So if indeed you made such a resolution to not abide by this, that is not a legal resolution and will not hold up. Okay, so this is the code. The code wins.
We just decided that we were not going.
Yeah, okay, good luck.
Janie?
What I did at that time, being an advisor on MNC, I went over to quite a few, like Home Depot and Lowe's, and I had, well, I still do, I have a barbecue with a large propane bottle, and there is no way to convert that to smaller bottles. They can't change the orifice. And I went to a barbecue shop and asked them if they could do it, and there was no way that my barbecue would be able to fit a small propane bottle, and that's what you're asking. And so we had quite a bit of discussion within MNC and within the board, and we just decided without a resolution to continue the way we have been doing. It was also discussed how many fires actually happen because of a blown up propane bottle or somebody dumping their ashes from a Weber type barbecue into the trash, causing fires that cause fires in buildings. And so we just let it, kind of decided that it could continue the way we've been doing it, knowing that it is also starts as a federal level on the code and came all the way down to the city and then came to us. So we just decided at that time to kind of let it go.
And I was in the same position as Janie was, exactly the same, and still am.
Good luck, because what you, this is quite clear. This is the code. The code is quite clear. It is the smaller, they say it's like a camping barbecue, a propane tank with a 1 pound LP gas capacity. Okay, so that is all that is allowed by the code. So if you choose to go against the code, then you are choosing knowingly to violate the law. If anything happens, you are completely and totally indefensibly responsible.
Yeah, I remember that now.
And we should tell our members to be within the code. We are a close-knit community. It is our job as a board to urge safety within our community. There is hardly any space around here that is completely 10 feet away from everything and 25-foot clearance if you have open flame, or 10 feet clearance otherwise between you and the next balcony and the flame level of your barbecue. So we cannot promote this. We must say you must follow the code. If a person individually wishes not to follow the code, they bear the legal consequences. Steve?
From what I understand of what Maggie is speaking to, it's very specific about being within 10 feet of combustible material. With the number of floor plans that we have and the building types we have, this will be mandatory in some, and others will be exempted. For example, if you have a Madrid with a long patio that's got block wall enclosure, there's no combustible material at the far end of the gate. However, if you're in a Casa Contenta or some other structure where you have a balcony or a patio with a balcony above it. This is where this would be most subject. We have several outstanding safety issues beyond this, particularly when it comes to the use of extension cords in carports in place of permanent wiring. And we can acknowledge all these safety issues. However, without some enforcement, we're really just, pushing the marbles around with a feather, so to speak. And this is one of the things that we need, I think, to actively discuss of where we're going to go with this as a mutual for enforcement of building and fire codes.
Maxine?
I suggest, if the board will support it, that we leave this, we let this go back to the landscape committee because none of us have the document in front of us.
Excuse me, orders of the day. This is not on our agenda. We should not be discussing this.
Yes, it is. It's
Yes,
part
it
of
is.
her landscape
Part of the
report.
landscape report.
No,
Yes, it is. It is, part of my report.
We could let landscape take it up.
John?
Yeah, Madam President, we went over this in a great detail a couple of years ago, and with all due respect to our new directors, if they're really concerned about it, I suggest we bring it up again and talk to our attorney this afternoon.
Excellent.
Excellent solution.
Just from my memory, we did extensively discuss this, and rather than make a resolution to have our community follow this specifically, we said no open flame, and then we just kind of left it. But again, anybody who there is a fire because of this, you will be liable because you are not following the fire code and the city ordinance. But I have a motion on the floor, and shall we?
There is no motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That was
You're right.
just
That was
part
just your
of my
report.
report.
Okay?
That's all right.
Fine. Well,
It
we
was
will
just-
discuss it with our attorney then. Okay. All right, 12D, the report of the Governing Docs Committee. Government Docs this time discussed the damage restoration hearing determined letter. What we found was when we have our damage restoration hearings, people get a letter, first of all, saying that you may be out of compliance because this happened. Then they get a second letter that calls them to the hearing that says a dollar amount, which is what the mutual, through GRF, spent to remediate this particular problem. But it's not until they get into the hearing that it's broken down for them, this much for this much for this much for that. So they really come in kind of blind. And so we are asking that the damage costs be broken out in the letter that calls them to the hearing. It's a little too early with the first letter because they don't have all the invoices in. But if they have enough information to call them to the hearing, which is 15 days in advance, they can break it down in the letter. So that was our suggestion. And we did check with Betty Parker because the way the resolution says, it says that the checks are made out to GRF. And we asked if we could have them made out to United Mutual instead. It's kind of a semantics thing. GRF is the big pot, and then it comes out, and we the ones that pay for it. So if it is clearer, we have no problem, and Betty said that was perfectly acceptable, so we will put that in there. So there were a few additional word changings there, and we requested them to make the staff and use the letter going forward so that we would have less conflict, if you will, at our damage restoration hearings where people come in and say, what is this amount? And I don't know, and so this way they'll give the information to them up front. We also talked about drafting a resolution turning off our cable for non-payment, not just of assessments, but as our new collection and lien policy says, for fees, traffic violations, any kind of monetary things besides the assessments that we would turn over to under our new policy, we would turn over to our collection agency. So if they're behind 60 days, and what we find is a lot of time with our monetary fees, people say, nobody enforces it, nobody collects them, so we're just going to forget about them. We're not going to forget about them. And so we checked with broadband to see if there was a fee to turn the cable service back on. And we also felt that there be wording in their first notice advising them and giving them a time period. It will be turned off by such and such a date if you do not pay what you are in arrears. So that letter is being drafted and refined, and hopefully we will approve it at our next document review committee, and then it will be presented to the board in June. A hot issue is operating rules for hot tubs. We do not have any operating rule on hot tubs in United Mutual. And there has been enough discussion that we felt that that was necessary. And so we looked at the various problems that they may have. We looked at Third Mutual's existing hot tub rules. We looked at, the city had really none specific. The city rule was under massage parlors, but it did have some specifics on hot tubs, but it was from massage parlors. So we do have a resolution that we will put forward in June. Well, first of all, we're sending it to the M&C committee to get their comments on it. We have a recommended resolution, and if they agree with it or however they make changes to it, we hope to bring it forward in June at our meeting so that we will have something going forward. Now, the problem with this is we can't grandfather anything in. Those that exist today, unless there is a problem that we can't solve and the board decides to ask them to take it out, they have to stay. So this is just going forward. We also discussed the process for updating the trust, which is coming due in 6 years now. And we felt that we needed to get a jump start on it and figure out what parts of the trust are still in effect, which parts are no longer in effect. And we are having a meeting, our legal advisor is coming to our meeting on May 22nd, the Governing Docs Committee, to review this with us so that we have kind of a starting point. How do we want to go forward? This, of course, is not something that United can do on their own. We hope to take the lead and kind of get going on this, but it is something that has to be resolved by all four associations in order to go into effect. But that's going to take a while, which is why we kind of want to get started on it. The other thing, and we'll be looking at that at our meeting this afternoon, and that is how to send out the United updated bylaws. And the updated bylaws are finished. They're ready to go out. They have to be by secret ballot, so we could not include them with something else, such as the audit report. They have to go out by secret ballot, and so we're looking at the process, what we need to do that, and the cost, and that will be coming back for a vote. The next meeting, as I say, is on Monday, May 22nd. And I do acknowledge that page 3 and page 4 of my report are the same thing. Somehow it got copied twice. Oh, yeah. You're good. But May 22nd is in the Sycamore Room at 2 o'clock is the next meeting. And as I say, our attorney will be there as well. Okay, our next one is the Communications Committee. Maggie?
Okay, I communicated in an effort, the Communications Committee is trying to communicate to our residents various things that come up that are problems, okay? The problem is the trash dumpster. People have been putting out large recliners which sit outside beside the trash compactor or beside the dumpster for weeks, even months, then eventually get tossed into the trash bin, and that takes up half the trash bin. So I called Waste Management, okay? We have. This is an absolute no. These things must not be placed into our containers, ever, ever. No, no. Cement bags, strips of wood, vinyl piping, metal pipes, old shower doors, construction waste, old wallboard, shower doors, old cabinets, old countertops, screen doors. Your contractor must remove all waste and take it to the dump. No toilets. It does not get picked up here at our own waste things. Okay. This one, on the third Saturday, this is what they call the large item. This was the bulky item, but it's bulky item only if you live in a single residence outside of the village. That's for them. We're clear, you must not do that. This is for the third Saturday for pickup at 7 a.m. You can carry it. It's a microwave, a kitchen chair, plastic furniture, small appliances, toaster oven, blender, radio, something lightweight, that old plastic plant, whatever, something lightweight that you can carry yourself, not with the help of 4 others. Okay, outside Laguna Woods Village, outside of Laguna Woods Village, this includes washers, dryers, rangers, refrigerators, water heaters, air conditioners. But that's outside the village. Inside the village on the third Saturday, it is stuff you yourself can carry out there. The rest of it has to be done by your construction. Okay, this one, call. You get 2 calls per manor per year for private pickup arranged at your convenience. How good is that? That's the recliner, the mattress, a headboard, the kitchen table, a large shelf unit. Call Waste Management 949-642-1191. 642-1191. Waste Management thanks you, and all your neighbors thank you. That's my report.
All right, Andre, I know you have something to add to this.
Yes, I understand there are rules that we shouldn't do these things, but occasionally happen, and from what I heard, there are relatives that come in to help clean up the residence places, and they may not know the rules, and they sometimes do these things. And it happened to me that in our cul-de-sac, there were people placing the TVs in the dumpster. As a result, Waste Management, they don't pick up electronics. These are hazardous, so they don't pick them up, and the dumpster got full, and so here's the rule of what needs to be done if dumpster have electronics or Waste Management are not picking up. They are supposed to notify VMS and CC the Laguna Woods City, because contract is made between Laguna Woods City and the Waste Management, but we pay for the cost in the village. So if they should notify the VMS, and VMS should clean it up and do something about it. So, and then they will notify Waste Management, and during the next pickup, they will pick up the remaining. If you see anything that's overflow in your dumpster, please make sure you talk to VMS, and make sure that first, you don't do that. Second, if somebody else did that, please make sure that you call and don't just wait until it overflows. Thank you.
Don?
Yeah, Maggie gave a tremendous amount of information, which is a lot of residents don't know. Maybe that could be put together and put in the article in the Globe, or put together and hand out or something.
Okay, I'll put it in the Breeze. It's in the
Breeze,
Breeze
yeah.
next month. And I'll send it to the Globe too. But Andre is right, but this is costly for VMS. They have to pull an employee off of somewhere else, send them over to your dumpster area to jump in the dumpster or go next to the dumpster, to lug it out, put it into some kind of conveyance, and get it back to wherever it is they have to take it. This is costly for us, so don't put your heavy stuff out there unless you can carry it out there in time on the third Saturday by 7:30 a.m., and then they will pick it up. But this is hazardous. Some of these things are hazardous things, so you need to call the city on this.
Any electronics? All right, next week, oh, wait, I'm sorry. Cash.
You know, lately we have people who have upgraded their manners either themselves or before they purchased it. Now, there are equipment such as refrigerators and washers and dryers that are now the residents' responsibility. To get these when they need replacement, can we still call the
Resident services.
disposal company or?
Cash, two things there, excuse me. If they are replacing mutual property, in other words, they're taking out a refrigerator and replacing it with one of their own, resident services will pick it up and take it to the warehouse. You have to turn it back to the mutual to get credit for it. If you are replacing an alteration with another alteration, that's when you need to call Waste Management and get a specific pickup.
Your delivery person should remove the old one. Your delivery person who brings the new should remove the old one. Consult when you make the purchase, because they do. I've always had them do that. They do. You just say, will you pick up the old one? Oh, yes, of course, we always do. So you better be sure, before you get that thing delivered, you better be sure that the old one will be taken care of.
But don't let them pick up mutual property.
Right.
That's right. You've got to get that credit on that. All right, thank you, Maggie.
Thank you.
Okay, the report of the village traffic hearings, Don?
Yes, the number one violation remains to be expired registrations. We had 65 at our last report for a total of 110, and hopefully that will start going down. We had 43 stop sign violations and 41 speeding violations. Also, we had 7 unlicensed drivers who were stopped. And of course, if they don't have a driver's license, they don't have insurance. And that is reported to DMV, and it's going to be a huge sign. But people still drive without a license. It's hard to give up a car, I would hope. I'd never get to that point, but it's going to be a huge fine. That's the end of the report.
Don, I have a question.
Sure.
So the person is driving without a driver's license, and he's stopped by our security. How does he get home? Do they let him
I guess
drive
they go
home?
No.
Okay, then
I don't know.
does he walk home?
I have no idea. That's his problem. The bus. You can't break the law, you know. People run into people and there's hit and runs, which will come up in another report. But it happens. We've got people here that don't want to give up driving. And I'm sure it'd be hard to do, but it's tough on a lot of others, especially if your car is hit. My car has been hit twice in 15 years, and hit and run. It happens. Yep.
Okay. Andre, would you give us the report of the Preparedness for Disaster Task Force?
Yes, Preparedness for Disaster Task Force, we met on last Thursday, and we reviewed the emergency operating plan. And we have an understanding of what's included in, and, but we also have questions about what's the coverage, how is the residents going to prepare themselves, how the volunteers going to be organized, their roles and responsibility in relation to VMS employees and the Disaster Preparedness Task Force. So we had a lot of questions, and we decided that we're going to meet again May 25th and discuss about detailed our involvement and the budget and the charter and the procedures that need to be established so we can help out recruiting good neighbor captains. So stay tuned. Next week, next meeting we'll have more to report. Thank you very much.
Okay. Our next report is of the disciplinary cases. And in April, the number went down a little, the total number of cases, and the cases resolved also went down. We still have problems, and alteration maintenance went up. Carport clutter. Now, this is more than just a unsightly thing. It is a danger. It is a fire danger, and it is a danger to other people trying to get around in your carport. And it's a safety issue because that's just asking for crime. Most of the problems that we have stealing from carports is because people leave things out in the carport and people go by and pick them up. We also had an increase in illegal occupancy. That's always a problem here. You cannot have people living with you. We do not rent rooms if they are not vetted and approved through our Property Services Division as a co-occupant, or if they are not a guest for less than 60 days. And with Dwelling Live, we can now check how many overnight parking permits have been given to that, and that helps us to control that as well. But there were still 41 of the illegal occupancies last month. Traffic violations were up a little, as Don mentioned, and the other thing was patio clutter. And patio clutter, again, is an aesthetic thing. Neighbors hate to have a unit next to them, above them, that is all messy and covered with things that shouldn't be in there. And one of the things that I might mention is you do not park your golf cart in your patio. Okay, that's what we had for disciplinary report. So the next thing we go to is unfinished business. Oh, yes, Cash.
I think by mistake we omitted one committee, Security and Community Access. If you want me to include a little report on it, I can.
Well, we'll do that when we get down to the GRF committee highlights.
Well,
okay? We were just talking about united committees.
Page 13B.
All right, 13A, we have the motion to approve United Mutual committees, followed by B, which is GRF committee appointments. Maggie? Just the changes.
The Executive Hearings Committee, removal of Lenny Ross, add Steve Leonard and Cash Akrakar. Finance Committee, no change. Governing documents, no change.
The voting advisor,
Where are you?
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee, we're adding Manuel Armendariz as a non-voting advisor. Let's see, the Laguna Canyon Foundation Committee to be determined. The Traffic Fitness Hearings, cross off Lenny Ross, add Jack Bassler for the afternoon session. The Landscape Committee, Ms. Skillman is stepping off. We're adding an advisor, Kay Anderson. Maxine is.
Replacing Juanita.
No.
She's added to the
Oh,
Landscape Committee.
did she agree? Okay, Maxine is added onto that thing. Okay, on back. Maintenance and Construction, Jack Bassler replaces Jan Labarge, who is removed. Disaster Preparedness, Gary Morrison and Cash Carr are installed. Janie Durrell is removed. Resident Advisory Committee, Maxine McIntosh as chair. Janie Durrell are added. Andre Torn is removed. Architectural Review Committee, Don Tibbetts, chair. Steve Leonard, Jack Bassler, Janie Durrell, and non-voting advisor Reza Bastani. Resolved further that Resolution 01-1730, adopted February 14, 2017, is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
I have a second.
No, I'm not seconding.
Andre?
Oh, question.
Wait, I need a second, okay? Janie, thank you. All right, Pat, you were first, and then Andre.
Yes, I would like to say the Architectural Review Committee, Don is the chairman of the MNC, and Jack is an architect. I would have thought that it was pretty obvious. Jack has been in GRF and in United, and Jack should be the chair of the Architectural Review Committee. I think it's a no-brainer.
Andre, you had a question?
Oh, during our last preparedness for disaster meeting, I thought Jenny wants to be on the committee. You don't.
No, I can't.
You don't want to on it. Okay. All right. That's fine. Just want to confirm.
Yeah, we really didn't discuss the membership of that committee. It's a new committee. It's not a subcommittee of M&C. It's a separate committee, and we should get some new people in there. But since we have no new people at this time, I'd be glad to be the chairman. But I agree with Pat. Jack is much more qualified being an architect. But however the board wants to do it, I'll work with it.
Would one of you like to make an amendment to the resolution changing the chair of the Architectural Review Committee from Don Tibbetts to Jack?
Yes, I would make the motion that we change Don Tibbetts' chair and put instead Jack Bassler as chair for the Architectural Review Committee.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
All right.
I have a question.
Janie?
First of all, we have to ask Jack, will you accept that
accept it.
position?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Steve?
I had a question. Jack, how long are you going to serve on the board?
Pardon me?
How long are you going to serve on the board this term?
Well, my term, that's a good question. My term ends this next, October, whenever, so.
True.
So we would have to replace, if we make Jack the chair now, we'll have to replace him in October.
If he doesn't
Just-
run again, we have to replace.
Can Jack run again?
Pardon me?
Can you run again?
No.
No,
No,
you're termed out.
I have to go wait a year.
Right.
Don?
Yeah, we're going to replace and change all the committees
Yeah.
with the new election, so that part doesn't bother me. Jack's here until that time. Let's use his talents.
Okay. I have an amendment to our resolution to approve these, to change the chair from Don to Jack, otherwise leave the committee as it is.
Yes.
And it's been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? Cash?
It looks like the same people are on architecture committee as they are on MNC committee. So why are we making a separate architectural committee?
Well, the M&C committee only meets every other month, and this would be the fill-in. This is only to do alterations, variations,
Okay,
variances,
Yeah.
variances.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
kind of an in-between.
All right.
Andre?
Question about this architectural review committee. Sorry, this is a new committee. And we had heard Jack express that he thinks that 3 will be sufficient, and we have 4 members in here. So shall we wait until the chair decides what to do next, and then decide,
Let's go with what we have, and if he wants to change it, we change this almost every month. If there are people that want to go off or on. The resolution that we approved today said no more than 5, so 4 is fine, and it will be up to the chair then. So I have an amendment, moved and seconded, to change Jack Bassler to the chair and Don Sivitz just as a member of the committee. All those in favor? Okay. So the original resolution for all of the rest of the committees has been moved and seconded. So do I have a vote to accept the resolution on the on the United Mutual Committee? Everybody in favor? Okay. All right, then we go to 13B, which is the GRF committee appointments. And Maggie, will you read any changes to those?
Resolution 0117 accepts Golden Rain Foundation committee appointments. These are the changes only. Delete business planning, delete Lenny Ross, add Juanita Skillman. Community activities, remove Jan Labarge, add Maxine McIntosh. Finance, remove Lenny Ross, add Juanita Skillman. Financial Reporting Study Group seems to be director free and absolved. Landscape Committee, Juanita Skillman removed, Maxine McIntosh installed. Maintenance and Construction, remove Steve Leonard, add Jack Bassler. Media and Communications Committee, remove Jan Labarge, remove Juanita Skillman. Maggie Blackwell and Steve Leonard are appointed. Mobility and Vehicles, remove Steve Leonard, add Andre Torn. Security and Community Access, remove Andre, add Cash Akrakar. Resolve further that the Resolution 11731 adopted February 14, 2017 is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
Do I have a second? Cash? Okay, now discussion?
Yes.
Pat?
Yeah, I would like to suggest that we remove Juanita Skillman from finance and instead put Gary Morrison in her place.
It's always been the president.
I believe that Gary, the finance is always, no, only the budget, only the budget.
I'm replacing.
She's
former
replacing
president.
the former president.
I,
Okay, well, that's your choice if you want to make that amendment.
okay, that's the amendment I'm making because I believe that Gary will be the next treasurer very soon, and the more that he is involved in it, the better.
Do I have a second to that? Andre?
I have a question.
Yes. Steve?
Gary, are you prepared to serve on that committee?
I am.
Okay.
Excuse me again, Juanita, this was the business planning the business planning is always the treasurer and the president. That's for the budget, okay? It's always been like that.
Well, if you go back and look, you'll see the Finance Committee has been the treasurer and the president, even when you were president.
Well, it might have been the most appropriate thing at the
goes back
time.
that way.
The most appropriate
Okay,
thing at the
all right.
time.
Don't vote for it. Andre?
As a new member on this board, I'm thinking about the team building process. During the one of the major thing in the committee appointment is trying to build up the new members, give them opportunities, and start building up and help them establishing leadership in the future as we move along. So I'm looking at the thing and say, I understand there are a lot of people that are very experienced, But in the business side, we don't just say, you've got the most experience, you're going to lead us. Sometimes the most experienced people will be more in a mentor position to help out the committees and members and the chairs establish their future presence in the organization. So that's what I'm suggesting, that hopefully we can, I understand everybody is very experienced, a lot of people very experienced. Maybe in the future we can give the newbies a little bit of opportunity and bring them up to board. And if we look at the previous report, we have Pat on leading one committee, Don leading two committees, Maggie leading two committees, Juanita leading 3 committees, and Andre leading 1 committee. So if we can give the other people some opportunity to build up the team, I think that's very important to make this board a continuity for the operation. Thank you.
Pat?
Yeah, I'd also like to say, Juanita, you're leading 3 committees. Besides being president, you're overloading yourself, in my opinion.
I'm not leading. Okay. I just would like to point out that every director is on one GRF committee. We try to spread it out so that everybody has that learning experience that you're talking about, Andre. And yes, some of the more seasoned members chair the other committees, but everybody is on 1 or 2 committees so that they can gain that experience. But we have an amendment put by Pat, seconded by Andre, to amend the GRF committee appointments to replace myself on the Finance Committee with Gary. Any more discussion? Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor of the amendment? 3, 4, 5. Don, were you yes?
Yes, I vote yes.
Okay, so that's 6.
I thought there was 7.
Would you raise your hands again?
Yeah, raise it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Did you get Don?
Yeah.
Yes.
7.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6. Where's Sorry.
That's all you need.
Okay, well, that is a majority, and the amendment
Please ask
passes.
for those opposed in case somebody's not voting.
All right, those opposed, please. 4. Okay. So that amendment passes, so now we move to the original motion to approve the committee appointments for GRF. It has been moved and seconded,
Yeah,
Maggie and Cash, so all of those in favor of the committee appointments? Okay, it's unanimous, as amended. Okay. We go to 13C, entertain a motion to refer the drone policy back to the Security Access Committee. This is 13C, page 1 of 1. I'd like to entertain a motion to refer the drone policy back to the Security and Community.
I second the motion.
I need a motion before you second it.
I move.
Maggie, okay,
She said she
and Pat. All right, discussion, and I know we had, anybody on the board want to discuss? Okay, Nancy?
Nancy Lannon, 669N, Via Mendoza. I received a letter, Steve, I received a letter from the electric company saying we're going to have an outage May 16th, so perhaps that pertains to your solar. That's not what I was going to talk about. I'm very happy to see that you're revisiting the drone policy. I have yet to talk to any of the citizens. I can't say I've talked to 20 or 30 or 40, but everybody I've talked to can't see the reason for having these drones. The only thing that we think it could be for municipal purposes, for security, and maybe our own TV company using it. Everybody seems to worry about 3 things. One would be the noise. Second would be the danger, and third is the privacy. I know that you have set it up, that people will be licensed, people will be insured. I've been listening to the disciplinary things, I've been listening to the report from the violations. You can set up laws, but people don't obey them. And if you have something flying around up there, and I called security, and by the time I called security, they're gone, how do I identify which one it was? I don't know if it was somebody that was insured and licensed and what have you. So I hope that you do, when you revisit this thing, consider that playing with the drones isn't necessarily something we need in the village. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Nancy. All right, the motion is to refer it back to the Security and Community Access Committee. Oh, I'm sorry, Andre?
I've did some survey walking around to the neighborhood and asking them about drones. I think basically there are three sections that we need to consider. One is the official use by the fire department, by the police department, by our VMS staffs. Those are the official users. We do see advantage that we want to allow them to do that. The second category would be recreational, which we really don't want, and we just expressed concern, the resident expressed concern about it. In between, there's another category which is more commercial use and which may benefit the residents, but we don't know. So we try to establish a guideline and permit so we can screen out those people that are not really diligent in using the drone the effective way, and allow those people that are really need to be used or demonstrate the good use of a drone for our community to allow them. Drone is such a new technology, so it's very difficult to cover everything. The technology is changing. Even FAA doesn't have a complete guideline at this point for the future. They only have the guideline for now. So what we need to do at this point is at least establish some kind of a guideline and allow people to understand that they need to follow the guideline. So that's my comment on the drone policy.
Well, Andre, if I can refer you back to what the motion is saying, is that we are not going to take any action on it, that we are going to refer it back to Security Community Access. And I encourage anybody in the community who has an interest in this to come to the meeting on May 18th at 1:30 in Clubhouse 1 and express your opinions at that time. And we are not going to take any action on this today. So accept the motion to send it back to Security Access. All those in favor of that motion? Any opposed? No, it's unanimous. All right, thank you. All right, D, we have the Director's Code of Conduct that we've developed, and if you would read the resolution, please, Maggie?
I will read the resolution. I believe there's a typo in it. I'll get there. Resolution 0117XX, whereas pursuant to California's Common Interest Development Meeting Act, California Civil Code 1363.05, and the governing documents of United Laguna Woods Mutual,
not Hills.
Scratch Hills, United's Board of Directors is required to hold meetings in open session and executive session as may be applicable to deliberate and act upon the business and affairs of United. And whereas the board believes that efficient board meetings are not possible unless those meetings are conducted in a professional, orderly, and timely fashion, and whereas the board wishes to promote such professionalism, order, and timeliness, and regulate board meetings in an even and consistent fashion, and whereas the board believes that in order to effectuate the items described above, each board member should execute the code of conduct. Now therefore be it resolved on May 9, 2017, that Resolution 0110265 adopted November 15th of some year.
I don't think it was 2017.
I do not know what year it was, is hereby superseded and canceled. Resolved further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. So we do need a corrected date for the
It would be
November.
2010, you can tell by the resolution number.
Okay, thank you.
I might mention to the people in the audience that don't see these, I know you hear over and over again, Resolution 01, blah, blah, XX. The resolution is not given a number. The XX is in there as a placeholder until it is actually approved, and sometimes has to go out to the membership and then come back and be approved again. So that's what the XX means. And in the resolution number, such as we just saw, 01-10-265, that means that it was adopted in 2010, and it was Resolution 265 in that year. And so that kind of gives us a starting point on those. So I think that's just a Scribner's error that we can put in Laguna Woods and the 2010. So do you move?
I move this resolution.
Do I have a second?
I
John?
second.
Any discussion? Maxine?
Yes, in looking at 13D, page 2 of 5, and I want to ask Mary, are you going to address the bottom bullet point? Is that what you're planning to say?
No, I was
All right.
not.
I will,
I
because
gave you.
sometimes she says things better than I do.
Oh, okay, well,
All right, I'm looking at the last bullet point, the wording there. We want to make it clear that something can go from us through the president to the attorney and come back to the board, but we need it in writing, not verbally, not orally. And what I suggest is instead of that first sentence, legal issues must be advised from United board members to the president, who will advise United's legal counsel, and as directions provided from legal counsel, the president will so advise the board. I like this wording. I hope you'll consider it. Any United board member must submit a request for legal advice in writing through the president. Any response from legal counsel will be given to the board.
Sounds good.
Do you like that?
What about the last sentence?
it would remain the same.
Any response
remain
from
the
legal
same?
counsel will be given to the board. Oh, then it continues on. Any two directors may contact.
All right, fine. Leslie, did you get that?
No, I,
Would you repeat it or?
too fast.
Sure,
Give it to
I'll
her.
go through it clearly and slowly. All right, that last bullet point, this is replacing that first long sentence. Any United board member must submit a request for legal advice
I'm sorry, where?
in writing through the...
Where are we?
Where are you?
That's not what it says. It says,
I'm replacing it. Yes,
So you want to, so you're adding or replacing?
I'm making a motion to substitute my sentence for the first sentence in that last bullet point.
Okay.
oh,
Okay, go on.
Okay,
Any,
should I start from the beginning? Any United board member must submit a request for legal advice in writing through the president. Got that much? I can give you this. And that would be period. Period. Any response from legal counsel will be given to the board.
Okay, Andre? Oh,
I understand.
Excuse me, is there a second to Maxine's amendment?
Nobody likes it?
I'll second it. I like the
Wait.
Maxine's. I like Maxine's recommendation. The only issue I have is the member submit the request to the legal counsel through the president. Okay, I have concern on that. Because in the last sentence here, any two director may contact United legal counsel if they believe, based on good cause and support, that the president is breaching his or her obligation as president and/or director. So if through the president and president doesn't submit, then the whole thing fails.
No, then
The last sentence
the two
fails.
directors can't go.
Yes, but if they have to go through the president, then it may fail.
No, no, no.
The two don't have to.
Two don't.
It goes through the
doesn't have to.
president for all regular communications with the attorney. And she's just saying that it should be written rather than you, and that would include email. That means that you don't just tell me what you want me to talk to Jeff about. It has to be documented, either in an email or a written request. And then when he opines on it, he will bring it back to us in closed session. The last sentence basically says, if two directors don't feel that it is that going through the president is correct because the president's breaching his or her obligations and his or her, then two directors can contact
directly
a
to
legal counsel. It doesn't have to
Without,
go
well,
through
going
the
to
other.
the president.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay, then there's no conflict, thank you.
All right. Maggie?
I do not like that amendment, I'm sorry, because often people have a very long conversation on the phone or in person, and they come out with a recommendation, and they take it to the president because it's the president they're speaking to then have to go somewhere, print up a resolution and so on, and say, remember, we talked about da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. It's needless. Thank you.
Steve?
I agree with Maggie. I don't think it's necessary, number one. And number two, if you're going to start tinkering with this and saying that all submissions must be in writing, now you have to develop a definition of what in writing means. And is it electronic transmission or email and the rest? And I think the bullet point as it stands is sufficient.
Maxine?
The reason I put in writing is so that we have a written record of this correspondence with the attorney. And then also it protects the board president from a board member saying, well, that isn't the way I said it. You didn't understand me right. You didn't talk to the attorney correctly. It protects the president as well.
Don?
Yeah, we went over this quite a bit. I like it the way it is. You know, as Steve says, you can get too nitpicky on this thing. The reason that any two directors, that came up because of a problem we had about 6 or 7 years ago with the president. So that has to stay in there. But, I like it the way it is.
Did you have another comment?
It doesn't need to be in writing while it's still an idea. I have a question about this and this and this, and you chat about it, and you talk for a while, and Anita says, well, let's ask Jeff. And so that's what we do. At that point, after Jeff has opined, then we need things in print, and Jeff will give us a report. Before that, a question or look into the issue or shall we do this? Those are just questions. We need to be sure we're doing that. Those are just questions. You don't need to write down these and present them to Juanita at that point, in my opinion.
Right. Do we have any other board comments? And Mary?
Mary Stone, 356C. I think it's important to have it in writing for documentation and to make sure that the accuracy of the question that the president is bringing to legal counsel. Every question you take to legal counsel is a cost to the community, and every discussion is a cost to the community when the president is, talking to legal counsel or anybody else is talking to legal counsel. And as anything, we should have some documentation about it to make sure that the question that is being asked is the appropriate question. The main thing is to make this sentence clearer, simpler. The wording, legal issues must be advised, is also inappropriate. Maybe it's more like requested by the United board members. And is the request to the request is made to the president to take action for the board. And I think that it's important to put it in writing. It's just the most professional way to handle it.
Is that it?
Well, for that one, yeah, because that's the amendment.
Okay.
I'm speaking on the amendment, but I have something else. Yeah.
By Maxine, seconded by Andre, to amend the wording to the last bullet point under
All those in favor?
board responsibilities.
Didn't we discuss these with Jeff?
Yes, we did.
Yes,
Okay,
we
thank you.
did.
All right, all those in favor of this amendment? Oh, I'm sorry, Andre.
I have a question about, where is it?
This is this is
Okay,
only
the
on this one dot, Andre.
Yeah.
This is
This
the
one
amendment.
I'm talking about another issue. Should we vote
no,
for
no,
this?
let me get this one
this
out of
is
the way
one
first.
dot.
Okay,
Come on.
okay, then I'll wait.
All right, we are voting on the amendment to change that last bullet point. All those in favor? Opposed? All right, motion fails. It will stay as it is. Now, Andre, you had another.
Yes, I have a question about the second button, the last bullet on page 2 of 5. Do not respond to the mass email within our community with your email response, especially those that pertain to issues before the board. Any such emails can be used in legal dispute against you and our board. My question is about the forums. Okay, does that mean we shouldn't engage in any forum discussions? We are not responding to emails, but is forum counted as mass email?
No.
For a forum is okay.
What do you mean by a forum? A forum is when you get people together and discuss it.
Yes, yes, online forums.
Juanita?
Yes, Steve?
This bullet point has nothing to do with that. So if Andre is raising another issue about what a board member's conduct should be in public online forums, that's a different matter. And as I look at this entire code of conduct, this is something that, as I recall, we developed in governing documents.
No, we, in a closed session where we had our.
We talked about,
With Jeff.
we talked about it, however,
Yes.
and we've gone through this, and we've revised it, and we've gone through this, and, I mean, unless we're going to send this back again to start adding additional bullet points, I would ask that we move the vote.
Call the question.
Cash, did you have your hand up?
Same.
All right, Mary?
Yes, there's other, I think that in your bullet point that starts with act with professional courtesy and respect towards, page 2 of 5,
Middle of the page.
the middle of the page, yes. Act with professional courtesy and respect towards fellow directors, members, residents. I think you should include staff and vendors. And I think that down in the last paragraph also, that staff should come before vendors. So it should be residents, staff, and then vendors. Because your staff is very important, and you deal with them more than you deal with vendors and other peoples.
Where is the second one?
And under professional conduct, you're just saying move
Just
staff
move
over
staff.
before vendors.
Before vendors. So that's because our staff is very important. And then I'd also like to have you look at the whereases, which talk about meetings, efficient board meetings, and your code of conduct reaches well beyond just meetings. It talks about all kinds of responsibilities and interactions, not just at meetings. So I think that the resolution doesn't apply to the code of conduct. The code of conduct is behavior in general as well as meetings. So the way it's written, it's talking about efficient board meetings, which is not really what the code of conduct is all about. Thank you.
Any other comments? Good point. Are we ready to vote on the code of conduct? And by the way, just for those of you at home who don't have it to see, there is an acknowledgement, and each board member, when they come on the board, sign it and date it, that they have read it and are in tune with it.
So we can add staff without making an
Yes.
amendment?
You had to amend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question on page 3 of 5, the second dot in the middle. First I'll read it. Private personal information of fellow directors, committee members, or staff. Private personnel information of United's members. I don't understand what that is.
Yeah, that's right.
Personal.
It means personal, right? Is this just a spelling error?
I think so.
Okay,
And
thank
Yeah,
you.
residents.
Yeah, we could say United residents instead of members, because we want to be polite to residents also, yes.
Okay. So it's private personal information of United's members' residents.
Right.
/ residents, because they can
There
be
you
called
go.
both. All right, all those in favor of adopting the code of conduct?
Do you have a question?
Oops, another question? Sorry,
No.
Steve?
I thought we
Oh,
were-
okay.
Voting.
I'm voting.
All right, we're voting. All right, all those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? 2. All right. 8-2, it passes. All right, in E, under 13, entertain a motion to approve revisions to the parking decal policy. This is was approved at the March meeting. Couldn't go to April for the 30-day because there weren't 30 days between the two meetings, and that's why it's coming for final approval at this meeting. And so if you would read that for us, please, Maggie. It is 13E.
Resolution 0117XX, United Laguna Woods Mutual Traffic Rules and Regulations. Whereas the traffic rules and regulations are intended to mirror the California Vehicle Code and to adhere to the Davis-Sterling Act, and whereas the Parking Committee of this corporation recognizes the need to amend a portion of the mutual traffic rules and regulations to accommodate for parking, and whereas each manor is allowed to receive a certain number, instead of amount, number of GRF parking decals, and whereas new residents will be issued 1 decal per bedroom, and whereas residents may apply for a variance for a $25 fee. Now therefore be it resolved, May 9, 2017, that the Board of Directors of this corporation hereby adopts the revised United Laguna Woods Mutual Traffic Rules and Regulations as attached to the minutes of this meeting, and resolve further that Resolution 011632, adopted April 12, 2016, is hereby superseded and canceled, and resolve further that the officers and agents of this corporation are hereby authorized on behalf of the corporation to carry out the purpose of this resolution. I move this resolution.
I'll second it.
Okay, discussion? Anita? Let's start down here. I always look to my left.
I think instead of putting decals per bedroom, it should be, if it's 1 bedroom and 2 people, should be given to decals.
So you would,
Mr. and Mrs., for instance.
instead of bedrooms, you would suggest we do it by people, by persons.
Yes.
All right. Pat?
Yeah, I'm looking at page 13E, and this is what I would suggest the changes. It says 1-bedroom manor up to 1 decal. I propose that we change it 1-bedroom manor up to 1 decal for a car and 1 decal for a golf cart. And under the 2-bedroom manor up to 2 decals, I suggest we make it 2-bedroom manors up to 2 decals for cars plus 1 decal for a golf cart. The next paragraph, decals may be issued in any combination ending in residence. I suggest we scratch that entire sentence out of there. and that's my suggestion. And the reason I'm saying that is because I really believe that we will have a detrimental effect on our sales and values if we do not allow golf carts. And I just don't think that's a good idea for us to be doing that. I think we're actually reducing the value of our units by taking off golf carts. But I don't think we should say that it should be 2 decals in a 2-bedroom for cars or for golf carts. I'm saying it should be just for cars, 2 decals and 1 decal for a golf cart on each of them.
Director English, what page are you on?
I'm on page 13E, page 1 of 2, United Laguna Woods Vehicle Traffic and Parking Rules.
Gary?
Pat, were you saying that you want, for a 1-bedroom, you want 2 decals also?
No, not exactly. I'm saying we want 1 decal for a car and 1 decal for a golf cart, and you can't mix them.
My concern is a married couple moving into a manor, a 1-bedroom manor, and they're both working, they need 2 cars.
Then they would get a waiver. They'd have to come in and get a waiver. So we need to add a variance or a waiver to it.
And can that waiver be turned down?
Possibly.
That's what would concern me.
All right, Steve?
I'd like to remind everyone that this parking issue has been ongoing for a long period of time, and no matter what you propose, you're going to get pushback from somebody, and we keep going round and round on this. I'd like to say the following. Currently, 8% of our manors have golf carts. 8%. If you want to change the 1-bedroom manors up to 1 car decal and 1 golf cart, and everybody in the 1-bedrooms runs out and gets golf carts, you may double the number of golf carts that you have in the community.
Yep.
To give you an idea of what it takes to add any additional parking here, it's $7,000 per parking spot. So if you want to add 500 parking spots within United, that will be a $3.5 million expense. I'm just giving you some information. What we have before us today is an attempt to retract the 3 decals that can now currently be issued to all manors. And if you think about that, that could result in 19,000 decals. Not that it will, but it could. We only have 6,323 carports. We have something about 40, I believe, dedicated golf cart charging spots with electricity. And we have about 1,046 striped parking spaces. Any board can change this at any time. You can always make a change to a rule. But unless we do something about this today, you're on to another vote and another 30 days and another review and more input from the residents, which we've already received. I think all of us have in the last 2 months. And on whatever you do, you're going to have someone be able to be provided a variance. As Gary says, if you have a couple who moves into a 1-bedroom apartment, if it's 1 decal period or 1 car decal and 1 golf cart decal, but they need 2 cars, they're going to have to apply for something. Otherwise, they're going to be restricted from not being able to get the second car. And the 2 major issues here are need and density. And one of the things that we don't have, which we should have, is we should have a monthly report from staff that tells us what the new decal issuance has been per cul-de-sac, and whether or not we have exceeded the number of striped parking spaces and the number of carports that are available. This needs to be tracked.
Yes.
We're always in a reactive situation.
That's what we need.
So what I would like to see personally is that we pass this today, and if you want to revisit it and make an amendment to it based on the number of occupants, we could do that in committee and bring it back to the board and make a revision to this policy. But if we don't do something with this today, you're going to open this up for the next 60 to 90 days where anyone can get 2 or 3 decals, which only contributes to the problems that we already have.
Gary?
And I understand where Steve's coming from, but I guess one of my concerns, and I mean, it's all coming down to parking. And maybe we ought to be working with GRF to set up some central carport over at the golf course where they can store their carts, charge their carts, keep them in a safe, secure area, and then we're going to free up a lot of area within our carports here. Because I went down through just my area, and there were 5 golf carts taking up 5 spots in carports. So those cars were out on the street. And from what I heard in here was that people put their golf carts up in the front of the cars, but that's not what's happening.
Maxine, you were next, and then on.
Okay. You know, I don't think we must presume this is a 98 or 95, whatever we have, cul-de-sac problem. That's what concerns me, is we're sweeping it all in, because apparently there's a few cul-de-sacs somewhere that you've had people complain about in great numbers. I don't know where they are. I've driven in and out of so many cul-de-sacs and never found any except number 56 that was out of parking spots, forcing people to park on the street. So what I did, I couldn't find any report that I could look at, like Steve said, that shows us the situation in each carport. All carports that I go into are striped when you get way back in. They have the permanent striping in among the enclosures. But on that long drive-in, which is very long with some cul-de-sacs, shorter with others, those places are usually not striped. The only ones I found striped were, out of the 8 I looked at, were on Cadiz. All 3 of those were striped. So I want you to see this if you'll pass it along. What I did was I went 2 evenings through these same 8 carports from all of Cadiz up Aragon to Estrada. That way they're all consecutive. I didn't go around and pick them at random. And I counted all the open parking spaces the first evening around 5, and the second evening after 7 on Sunday evening, when probably most people are home. And of course, the carports themselves, many of them were a little over half full, but others were just barely half full. So there was a lot of parking still in the carports. But if you look at this, I show you the number of open spaces available in each one of these 8, both evenings. In other words, there's 138 and 137 out of the 8 altogether. A lot of parking available, a lot. And all of the 5 that are not on Cadiz Street, Cadiz is the first 3, 14, 15, 16, that's Cadiz Street. The others have no striping at all along that entrance into everything where people park, where there's a lot of room to park. My numbers are all available spaces inside the cul-de-sacs. I did not count all the space available on the street. So I'm saying, I think we've heard this a lot from the residents. It's not a universal problem. We should be able, if there is a problem, we should be able to identify where is the problem, and then decide how to handle it. But first we have to know where. I can understand why so many residents have been speaking up about it. By the way, you'll notice at the bottom, nobody helped me. I just drove in and out, counting. One long stretch where there were no cars parked, I had to keep measuring my car to figure out how many slots. I tried to be as accurate as I possibly could. These 8 cul-de-sacs, I wonder if I kept going, if I'd find the same thing. If I kept going on down to Clubhouse 3, I could try that next time. We should identify where the problem is before we pass a rule that's going to affect everybody moving in. Another little thing, well, I hope it's a little, is you keep talking, the board keeps talking about they can get a variance. Okay, someone comes to buy my home, and the real estate agent has to say, by the way, you have 3 cars, and you're not going to be allowed 3 here. But after you move in, you can apply for a variance. Are the variances going to be automatic? If not, that's too tenuous for a new residence. It's going to hurt sales.
Yeah.
Who would want to move in planning to now retire and have a golf cart and a fancy old classic Cadillac and then the regular car they're in? But because of the size of their manor or the number of people living there, they have to apply for a variance, which is a question mark. So I hope we will vote this down and ask staff to give us concrete evidence to look into where are the cul-de-sacs that actually have a problem. I included I drove out of the way to go to 56 because I remember they complained when Jack and I were on the board years ago about their parking. And their carports, I guess they've learned. Theirs were full, or about 3/4 full at about 7:30 Sunday evening. I was surprised. They had the fullest carports of all, and they still had vacant spots open outside of those carports, but in off the street.
All right, Andres next, and then Gary.
I have a different issue, so I'm going to wait until this
Okay,
discussion is
all right,
over.
Gary?
I agree with Maxine, and what I'm also concerned, and I think we all have to be cognizant that we've got a lot of younger people going to be moving in here that are not retired yet, and this parking decal could be an issue, and if I was selling a manor and I couldn't guarantee that these people were going to be able to have spots, could affect the resale.
Cash?
Charging fee or not fee is not going to change parking situation.
Yeah.
But what we are doing really is trying to restrict people from getting more vehicles. So per person, like if it's a 1-bedroom manor and 2 people live, Mr. and Mrs., they should be allowed to. Now, golf cart is an excess or is a luxury item. So maybe that can be charged, or a separate place can be assigned for it. But individually, people who have cars, 1 per person should be allowed. A legal resident should be allowed 1 car. I mean, 2 in a manor, 2 people in 1-bedroom manor should be allowed. That's what I'm getting at.
And a golf cart.
No golf cart. Golf cart, you pay. If it's excess, you pay.
Maggie was next, and then Pat, and then Don.
Okay, it gives a request. So you can submit a request for variance to get an extra decal. Okay? It's too bad we can't not grandfather in anybody and allow everybody to say, okay, this is the standard. And then they would look at all these cars that they are keeping around here. A special car, a collector car, could be housed in a garage somewhere. A SUV that you only use every other month to pick up your grandkids from somewhere, but you've had it for several years. That's parked here too. I mean, that would give us a selection, but we have to grandfather in everybody that has it. So I say, pass it as it is. You can ask for a variance. You can get another one if you have a reason, and it's for the residents. And
New residents.
I have to say that I checked out cul-de-sac 15 on, my goodness, Sunday night about 10 o'clock. It was loaded, full. They've even restriped it at an angle to get more cars in. It's very hard to maneuver around the vehicles when it is full, and it was full. and everything was full. I didn't see 14, I didn't see anything empty.
All the way to the street?
All the way to the street. Every one of those was full. It is a loaded cul-de-sac. That one is a loaded cul-de-sac.
All right, Pat, Don, and then Cash. Pat?
Yes, I'd just like to say, I think that there are a lot of issues here and a lot of things that we're not agreeing upon. And I would like to suggest we send this back to committee, but not the committee of two, namely Leonard and Skillman. It needs to go back to a different committee with fresh eyes, and I don't want to be a part of it, but I hope someone will be. Thank you.
Don?
I didn't have my hand up, but I'll talk.
I'm sorry, I had my hand up.
Yeah, you know, you could send this back to committee, they'll come up with another suggestion, it'll come back to the board, we'll do the same thing we're doing now. You know, I suggest vote for it, and we have to do something. All these things I've heard before, and right now we're doing committee work. You're not going to get any agreement.
Cash and then Jamie.
This thing, May 5th is a Friday, and May 7th is a Sunday. People like me, who have grandkids close by, we go for the weekend. So this, I don't know how many of these people are not there when you are trying to do your survey. So this thing is not right. So,
Janie?
I'm concerned with the variance. There's no guarantee that these cars are going, or our new people or whatever, are going to be guaranteed a variance. That's what bothers me. If we were able to say, yes, you can get a variance and there's no problem, but we can't see that in the future.
Andre?
Okay, I can see this is a very contentious issue, and we talk a lot about it. And but my question is, at this point, we are basing on the feelings. We're basing on the partial observations. We don't have the facts in front of us. Should we have some facts about us? And Steve made some good recommendation. Maybe we need some facts in front of us. Then we can make a better judgment. If it's just a feeling, if it's just a one-time observation, is it necessary to make it bothersome for the residents to go through these hooplas?
Andre, we have had studies done. We have facts galore. If you haven't seen them, we'll try to get them to you, but it's not that we haven't done that homework. It's just there's still different feelings.
What I'm talking about is the report that Steve mentioned.
I ask that we vote.
All right, well, let me just have a couple from our audience. All right, Gary, and then we'll go to Mary and Dick.
If we can change this to a one-bedroom with 2 cars for a married couple, and then if they want a cart, they have to buy the variant or the decal, then I'm for it. But I can't guarantee anyone that they're going to get a variance if they move in with 2 people into a one-bedroom, and that concerns.
There's a difference between 2 people and a married couple.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, a married couple.
Right, exactly.
So, okay, I understand your point. All right, Mary?
Mary Stone, 356C. Yes, first of all, I think before you make any decisions, you should base your decisions on fact and not feelings, as Andre mentioned. And you do not have all the facts because your unassigned parking is the current striped areas. There are many areas in our cul-de-sacs and on the GRF streets that are not striped and that could be striped, and you could find a lot of parking places. I too went out, Maxine, and checked a few cul-de-sacs, only I went out at 6:30 in the morning when most people would be home, and it was a weekday. And there were lots of empty carports and lots of space on the cul-de-sac streets. Now, I'll grant you, most of the unassigned guest-type parking was full, but there were a lot of parking spaces in the cul-de-sacs around where my area, which would be Avenida Castilla and up and around Sevilla, in that loop is where I looked for the cars. There was a lot of spaces. So I really do believe there are specific cul-de-sacs, and to make a general rule for specific areas, I don't think is a very good decision for the board to make.
Dick?
With regard to the idea that there are specific cul-de-sacs that have an issue, I'd like to look at it from a different standpoint, and that is, have we identified them? And once identified, have we gone in and tried to speak with the residents and see if they're having issues? Because I went to Lori and I asked her, how many people are complaining about parking? And she said, not many. I think that's what you said to me. Is that correct? Not many people are complaining about parking. It's not overwhelming.
I don't get very many.
No. So I understand that we may have a parking issue in the future. So here's what my thought is. If you identify those specific cul-de-sacs and you interact with people and you find out they are having a problem, you can maybe come up with how many parking spaces are you short, including, street parking, all that sort of thing. The second thing that you can do is, and I'm not going to go into it now, but there are illegal occupants, and they drive, many of them. There are perhaps ways to identify them, I won't go into it now, and that will relieve some parking. We have talked about, and Steve did a study, I think, of the number of residents who don't use their parking space, and it could be a source of income to them. So there are ways maybe to alleviate some of the parking in some of the cul-de-sacs. Another thing I did was I went to a realtor broker, and a couple of realtors, and I said to them, if somebody is coming in here, and let's take an example, a two-bedroom, and they have two cars, and they're going to golf, and they have a golf cart, do you have to tell them that there is new ruling, I'm assuming that is passed, and that they have to get a variance for the third vehicle, and that there's no guarantee that you'll get that variance? And they said, absolutely yes, or we're liable. So there is a real possibility, we don't know how many, but there are people who may not buy here once they learn that there is this restriction to only two vehicles in that two-bedroom thing. Let's see what else I wanted to say. I hear people talk about the number of people in a manor, or the number of beds. Well, first of all, bedrooms don't drive. People drive. And I suggest that you talk about the number of licensed drivers, because you may have two people coming in, but one doesn't drive. So you want to give a decal to the number of licensed drivers, whether you go with the proposal today or the idea that you want to give up to 2 decals. And we should limit it to 2 cars, by the way, no matter what. I also hear that there can be a waiver. And the waiver, the thing that's often thrown out is, well, if 2 people are working, we'll obviously give them a waiver. But that's not the reality of our community. The reality of our community is we're retired. So when you have 2 people, and they both say, well, the wife goes to get her nails done, and I go to the board meeting, do we need 2 cars? Are you going to give me a waiver? If I also have a golf cart, are you going to give me a waiver? I don't think so, because what we're hearing is it depends on 1, your need, and 2, parking density. And parking density means if my cul-de-sac is thought to have not enough parking spaces, you're not going to give me my waiver. Let's see if I have any other points.
Sorry, you've taken your time.
What's that?
Sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay. Well, I'll end by this. From what I heard so far. I recommend that there are enough differences of opinion and different thoughts that you ought to go back as suggested by one of the board members and come up with some new thoughts and ideas, and along with Steve, get some idea of the new residents coming in and whether they're bringing in too many cars or too few.
Thank you. Barbara?
Barbara Copley, 410D. I hate to delay your meeting, but I disagree with Mr. Rader. You've been chewing on this bone for far too long. Let's pass this regulation and use it as a test and see how it settles down. As far as golf carts being in carports, a lot of people have given up their cars and they're driving golf carts. So that's probably the majority of what you saw, Gary, when you looked at carports filled with golf carts. Please don't let this go on another meeting. Pass it, get something on the table, and let's see how it settles down with people.
Mr. Rader, thank you. Sorry, Barbara.
What?
Someone approached the board member during a meeting. I just wanted to.
No.
Nancy Lannon, 669N. I consider my home an asset, but not in the same context as I do my bonds, stocks, and that kind of thing. I'm constantly hearing what we're doing for sales. We must be able to include everybody coming in here so that everybody's happy. We don't want to discourage sales. I'm not planning on selling. I'm planning on living here. And I have problems looking around and seeing people make their judgments on what the value of their house is going to be. What about the comfort of the people that are here now? First of all, the cul-de-sacs that you looked at today may be empty, maybe 5 years from now are going to be loaded. So this is the thing that's going to move around. You can't take this cul-de-sac and that cul-de-sac today and say what it's going to be a year or 2 years from now. You've got younger people moving in. They've got more toys, more vehicles. God knows what else is going to be. I'm beginning to think maybe people are going to be obsolete. Computers are taking over everything. But I do think you've got to look at the standpoint of some people have cars that they use once in a while to drag a trailer. They're parking it in a garage. We've got people who are renting out their carports and parking on the street. I know one instance where the woman was getting rental for 2 carports, and she's parking on the street. And it's a problem, we're in that cul-de-sac. So I'm saying, I think you ought to get this thing started, and like Barbara said, you use it as a test. Because the more you give people, the more you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. And as I say, I'm living here now. I want to live here in peace and quiet and be able to park and that kind of thing. I'm not worried about the people who are going to be coming in and buying my unit 10 or 5 or 6 or maybe next week. Who knows? Only God knows. But I wish you would take this thing and get it settled today so that you have something, a base from which you can work off of. Up till now, it's been hit and miss. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Nancy. All right, one last comment. Maxine?
Yeah, thank you. You know, I've attended just about all the United Board meetings since 2005, and I don't remember a report being offered during the board meeting the last year or two on all the cul-de-sacs. I don't remember any statistical anything presented that you people were able to look at, and if those of us not on the board were able to look at. And no matter how long people have talked about carports, to start voting for restrictions when we really don't know what the problem is. You know, I need to see something statistical. Have staff go out and do a report on all of these. They'll be faster than I was. They can probably do one cul-de-sac in 5 minutes. But what you're asking me to vote on something where there's not enough information.
Juanita?
It's in people's minds. Oh, I know this number, and I know that number, and I have this statistic. But it should be in writing so we can look at it.
It is.
It has,
Steve.
Couple of real quick points. No matter what you look at on any particular day or any particular time, it moves. So one data point does not make a fact.
Then why should we vote on it?
Excuse me. I'm referring to your information. Number two, we have 6,323 carports. We have 7,668 cars. We have 1,345 more cars.
Wait a minute.
Then we have
Where's that study? I need to see the study.
I'm sorry, excuse me, may I speak?
Yes.
I have the floor.
Don't interrupt, Maxine.
Listen, listen.
I have requested from staff reports on all the decals that have been issued in United and Third. As of last February, we had 7,668 cars with decals in United. We have 6,323 carports. That means we have 1,345 more cars than we have carports. We have 1,046 striped parking spaces, and I know that because I counted them, because staff didn't have a count when we had a parking subcommittee under Jack Hammer, and staff was making recommendations about what to do and what not to do without having data. Number three, we have 523 golf carts in the community, and we have 42, as I recall, dedicated carport parking spaces. So we have more vehicles than we have parking, okay? We currently have a policy where you can get 3 stickers. We cannot, under any circumstances, issue 19,000 decals. Not that it's going to happen, but it could. And at some point, if you want to look at other ways of remediating some of our parking issues, such as enforcement of contractors getting tickets parking in the cul-de-sac, now, we can have that conversation with GRF, and we can ask them to hire more people in the security department to write those tickets. When you talk about striping the unstriped areas in our carports, in our cul-de-sacs, you're talking about putting stripes where there are sidewalks. And I will guarantee you this, you're going to have to stripe it for a maximum-sized vehicle, like a 4-door pickup truck with a 6-foot bed. If you do that, you may actually restrict the amount of parking that you have, okay? Because you may stripe for 6 in an area where you could actually park 9 smaller cars, like Priuses or whatever it is. It's a very complex issue. So we have something, and I would ask that we vote.
This is not a debate. We can go back and forth. Maxine, I'd just like to make the point that this was discussed in detail at our March meeting, and that's when we first approved this particular revision, and all of those facts and figures were presented at that time, and we voted to go with this revision. And I point out that this is a revision to existing policy. If it is voted down, we still have a policy. We go with the existing policy under the vehicle traffic and parking rules that is in effect right now, which allows 2 decals for a 1-bedroom and up to 3 for a 2-bedroom. So it's just really an up or down. It's not really one that we need to debate any farther.
I do not. Point of information. I don't wish to debate. I wish to add some additional information.
I was listening.
Okay, she's already called for the vote.
I call for the vote.
All right.
I've spoken 2 times. May I speak a 3rd time like others have?
No. Andre, you've used up your time too. We're going to vote, and then we can come back, depending on what the vote is, up or down, then we can look if we want to put in something new or send it back to a committee or whatever. Let's vote on the existing motion.
We don't have a parking committee.
Not anymore.
Right, whereas the park committee of this corporation recognized need, so there's no park, so who recommend this resolution?
All right, I need a 2/3 vote to stop debate. All those in favor of stopping debate and going to the question? All right, we go right to the question. Those of you who approve the revision to the parking decal policy that was provided in March and has satisfied the 30-day notification requirement, please raise your hand.
Can you read that one more time?
It's the,
13E.
it's the revision,
Oh, this one.
yeah,
Right here.
to the parking decal policy.
What's the modification? Well, this one, okay.
All right, all of those in favor? 2, 3, 4. Okay, all those opposed? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay?
Okay, that's it.
It doesn't pass.
We don't.
So
have a
it's,
parking problem. We don't have a
it basically
parking
goes back
problem.
to where we were. We have the same rules that we had before we started looking at this. And if any of you want to start looking at it again, the parking committee was under M&C.
It was under Ken Hammer, and
Right.
M&C inherited it. I suggest we pull it out of M&C. I don't want it. And let Andre, he's very knowledgeable, and
All
so
right.
is,
I think this is something, if we're going to set up a new committee, that we can
I
discuss.
agree with that, yes.
So, for now, the new revision does not take effect, and we go back to the original policy. All right, 14 under new business, and I apologize, you've been sitting there forever. We did bring forth the information on the 360A matter that we had taken out of consent calendar, put on M&C, and then moved down to new business. So
we have one question on the last vote. To stop the.
Would you guys like a copy
that
of
was right.
the original report?
Should be 8 to 2. Never mind, we got it.
Regional resolution.
No, I think if you just tell us.
So clarification for the existing ramp or stairway that's there now, it's 6 feet wide by 24 and 2 inches. They're removing the steps and just creating one long ramp in the same exact place. So it's not going to be wider, it's not going to be longer, and that does meet the code grade.
That's what I thought.
So what they're doing is they're going from short steps to longer steps.
To one long ramp, there's
Yeah,
no
yeah,
steps.
No
right,
steps.
Right.
That's not what it shows.
No steps. This would be like a wheelchair.
There are existing steps
Yes.
and then the walkway. They're going to demolish at their own expense and put in a ramp
Yeah.
at their own expense. It's not going to take any additional common area. It's not going to cost the mutual any money. And this is something that has been done time and time again and will continue to be approved by not only this board, but future boards.
Brett, can I ask a question? In the original material that you have there, was there any indication that it was a disability or ADA request?
No.
Okay. All right. Anybody else need any more? Or do I have a motion to, excuse me, Maxine?
A quick question. How long did you say the ramp will be?
It's 24 feet and 2 inches.
24 feet. Well, that's common area.
It's the.
That's the existing walkway.
Yeah.
It's no
Common area.
longer.
It doesn't belong to the man.
The
just
sidewalk
changing-
is common area.
It's just changing out the steps in the common area for a ramp in the common area.
Yeah. But I think the looks of it, that long of a ramp, I think the looks of it will be better than I thought.
Okay.
'Cause
The
it's a
ramp
very
will stop
gradual
at the
ramp.
sidewalk. It doesn't go beyond the sidewalk.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have a vote to approve?
I move that we approve this.
I second it.
Okay. Any other comments? So I'll ask for the vote. All of those in favor of approving this? Okay, unanimous.
No.
No, I'm sorry, against it. I'm sorry, Sue.
Cash, did you go?
Yeah,
I approve.
approved. So there's just one against. All right, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Madam President, when we have a situation like this, we have to bring in a staff member. They shouldn't have to sit down there for 2 hours. They've got a lot of business to do. I think we should have gone him
Moved it up.
early, yeah.
Point taken.
Point taken, absolutely. All right, well, before we recess, Excuse me, I've got frogs in my throat right now. Like to ask for GRF staff, GRF committee reports. We have a number of people on GRF committees, and I'd like to just start at the top and see if you have anything. Is there anything on the Business Planning Committee, Pat?
No.
Community Activities, Janie?
No.
Finance, Pat?
No.
Landscape, Maggie?
No.
Maintenance and Construction, Don?
No, we didn't meet.
Okay. Media Communications, Maggie?
Yes, they're doing all kinds of stuff, as you've heard of, and we'll do more.
All right, you want to report on
That's
any
it.
of it?
Thank you.
All right. Mobility and Vehicles, Janie?
No.
Security and Access, Gary or Cash?
Yeah. Basically, I don't want to belabor too long, but we are talking about a few good things, such as the Dwelling Live app, and they're talking about better control on gate barriers and, better control on the community. So positive actions.
Okay, thank you. All right, the last point, 15, is Directors Forum. So I will go around starting on my left with Jack. You have a limit of 3 minutes if you have any points that you want to bring up during this meeting. Jack? Maxine?
I have a question because I don't understand this part too well. At what point are we required to call a corporate members meeting when GRF is working on spending money on a project that may go over $500,000? Do we have to start when they're first spending the money, or do we wait till they get a final appraisal? I don't know.
The money has to be approved before we can do that, or the project has to be approved before a corporate members meeting can be called. Andre?
No comment.
Pat?
Just a good meeting, Juanita.
Don?
Yes, I would like to strongly suggest that we take the parking committee out of M&C and get us started again. And people who voted this resolution down could be in charge of that thing. I'm serious. We don't have time to work on an M&C.
We'll certainly look at that. Okay.
Thank you.
Janie?
I just wanted to thank the City of Laguna Woods for letting us use the council chambers the last few months.
Read the Breeze, watch TV6, watch the board meetings, watch This Day on YouTube, read your Globe. There's all kinds of things going on, and the boards are busy. Thank you.
Steve?
Happy Mother's Day.
That was nice.
Cash?
Thank you.
I'll say Happy Mother's Day and good meeting, and I would like to volunteer myself. I know I'm stepping in a mud pie, but I will try to help you.
Very good.
I'll
Good.
do a quick.
All right.
I don't know how good I'll do it.
Let's see him again.
Thank you, Cash. Gary?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. This meeting is recessed to the closed session, which will be up in the Community Services Building.
Willow Room?
Willow Room, yes.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
And it's 1 o'clock.